Good evening, happy Friday, and welcome to Last Call, where the Kraken is released and the fandom is increased. And tonight, the fandom welcomes a normal dude trying the best he can to do his part. And that dude is GeekTalk Brandon G. So I'm guessing we'll be talking some geek, probably to include gaming and streaming, and the Philadelphia Phillies? We'll see. But either way, his link is in the description below, so be sure to subscribe. Then top off your drinks and strap in. Here we go. Good evening, good evening. How's everyone doing tonight? Well, we have a rare boomer sighting here. Hey, Aged Boomer, how you doing tonight?
Not so rare. I'm hoping to be more regular soon enough. In fact, I'm hoping next Friday I can stay for the whole show. I can only stay for a little while tonight.
That's fair. That's why I wanted to get you in right away. So first, what you sipping on?
I'm not sipping on anything at the moment.
I was going to say, it's fair to say nothing.
I
That's
had a
okay.
piece of pumpkin cheesecake, though, earlier. Is that
nice?
Sip,
nice.
But, you know,
so that sounds like you're not roughing it the way you used to be. Are you back in the house?
It's I'm at the second house, but I was at the first house today. I was cutting up rugs and whatnot, throwing them out, just
sorry, man.
It's still hard going, but we're getting closer. We're getting further along. So,
are you going to be with us next week? Because
I
next
believe
next week's going to be a good time to be here.
What do you
I've
mean?
got
What's
a very special
What's
guest
going
next
on?
week. We'll talk more about that later.
Okay.
Not that we don't have a very special guest tonight. In fact, let me get him in here. Hey, Brandon, how's it going? Do you prefer Brandon or do you prefer Geek Talk?
Brandon,
okay.
Yeah.
And what you sipping on, Brandon?
Some Pacifico.
Pacifico, nice.
The best
We were actually talking in the green room, and I was saying, "Hey, well, at least it's not White Claw, right?" I don't know if you're a 2A kind of guy, but there's a channel that I like a lot. Another Brandon, as a matter of fact, Brandon Herrera, and he's known as the AK guy. And whenever he is showing off a new gun or something, he instead of using like ballistic gel and all this kind of stuff that some of the big channels uses, he does the White Claw penetration test, and he'll put up a White Claw and blow it up, and he laughs about it. But so I actually had to go out and get some White Claws to see what this was like, and I'm like, oh, kind of like Gazima.
They're not good.
Like, yeah, I'd be better off with a wine cooler, to be honest with you. But anyway, so we were joking about that. But anyway, so how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. It's playoff baseball. Having a lot of fun watching the Phillies, and just that's all I've been doing, really, taking care of the kid and watching baseball.
Yeah, I've seen you've had a bunch of Phillies videos. I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. So I didn't really give Aged Boomer a chance to get his usual question in, so he didn't have a chance to ask me, what I was sipping on. But
boy.
I think everybody knows what I'm sipping on.
Release the Kraken.
Release the Kraken!
The Kraken!
Why is the rum always gone?
'Cause I drink it, that's why. So, yes.
We miss Captain Jack, don't we?
Absolutely. But there's rumors he's going to be coming back. We might end up talking about that in the near future. But are you a Johnny Depp fan, Brandon?
Oh yeah. I think if we're like the whole court case, Amber Heard stuff, I think they're both nut jobs. They're both from Hollywood. I think they're both nut jobs. But yeah, who doesn't love Johnny Depp, right?
Yeah.
I just learned he didn't go to an acting school. Did you know that?
I did not know that, but I'm actually not surprised. Boomer and I, as we've talked about, Hollywood and pop culture and stuff, I've pointed out that there's a lot of people in Hollywood that aren't classically trained, but when you look over at British cinema, most of them are. That's usually the difference,
Okay.
And I do find it ironic that, and this is another comparison that I've made between Hollywood and British cinema. A lot of the actors over in Britain, they don't take themselves too seriously, so that's why you'll have, classically trained Shakespearean actor like Patrick Stewart take a role like, Captain Picard, and they have absolutely no problem with it. And you have Ian McKellen and so many others. They don't care about doing, fan films and, the sci-fi and all that. It's like, it's a job.
It's not Harrison Ford bitching about being Han Solo. Like, dude, you
exactly
made millions of dollars being Han Solo.
These spoiled Americans who never even went to school, think who the hell they are. And the Brits that really have a reason to be hoity-toity are like, it's a job. If you can get something that pays you regular, you go for it. I don't care if it's Zardoz. You do it, We've talked about doing a rewatch of that one.
It's like Christopher Lee. He'd star in anything.
Right, yeah. Well,
Christopher Lee is a badass. He was in like a rock video or some crap like that, wasn't he?
I have no idea.
I had heard. I don't know. I mean, one of his last roles was playing in the Star Wars prequels as a failed Jedi. It's like, man, this guy don't stop. You gotta respect that. You really do.
He was trained in like I don't know the name for it, but he was trained in like fighting with swords, right? He was like I don't know if he was fencing or what, but wasn't he like a swordsman? Trained swordsman?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, fencing. Yeah. He's he classically trained fence. In fact, that used to be for his generation of actors, it was just standard. That was one of the things you learned because you were probably going to be doing stage acting. There was going to be those kinds of roles, especially if you were going to be doing any Shakespeare. So there was a lot of that. So not a big surprise there. In fact, and someone should double check me on this, but I'm pretty sure that help me out, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Alec Guinness, right?
Alec Guinness.
Well, they both played him. Yeah.
That Alec Guinness was trained in fencing, but by the time he was playing Obi-Wan, he was having some arthritis and stuff like that, which made it very difficult. Which you can kind of see a little bit in his performance. So, but they didn't have CG back then, right? To augment him, right? Real quick, let me say hi to the chat. I haven't forgotten you guys. I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you, but I'm all excited about. I haven't seen Boomer in almost a week now. Got a special guest tonight, so I get a little distracted. Of course, the very first person I want to say hi to is Deleted Scenes. He was here at 10:30 in the morning. He's been waiting 12 hours for the show, for crying out loud. Welcome, Deleted Scenes. Thank you so much for being here. Talk about a super fan. You're amazing.
Committed.
And Netter's been here for 30 years. The fact that she hasn't smothered me in my sleep means she must be a super fan too. So welcome, Netter of Netter's Network.
She married you specifically because of this particular stream you would one day do. You know that, right?
Yeah, this was like, this was 29 years before I ever started the stream, but she knew I'd go on to minor mediocre things. David Pensack, button the hatches. It's Friday night, last call. Pull up a chair and stay a spell. Yeah, see, you know what the branding's all about. Welcome. And then, of course, Deleted Scene starts dropping all the links because he's an awesome blue wrench that way. Don't forget to sub to our special guest, Bartender, at GeekTalk, Brandon G. Thank you so much. Let's see. And smash the like button because if nothing else, it encourages me. And if you don't encourage me, maybe I don't do this no more, because I think you don't like me or something. Matanui, always a pleasure to have you here. You are awesome, my friend. Big Al of Big Al Presents, whose stream we will be on tomorrow night as we do a rewatch of the 1970 something or other film Piranha. that's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm already not ever going in the water ever again. David is encouraging me with the Kraken. Yes. And Evelyn Hampton. Good evening, everybody. Gotta be. I mean, it's not just Netter now. We've got a lady here, so we gotta be gentlemen here. And let's see. I think I've caught up. If I missed anybody, by all means, 1978, Big Al says. So tomorrow night on Big Al's channel, make sure you're subscribed to Big Al. And of course, Cosme link will be provided for those of you that don't already have the film on DVD, but of course, own physical media. So they can never change it. They can never take it away from you. You know?
Your collection's impressive.
Yeah, you've seen that, right? Yeah. When Netter was when Netter was substituting for this guy over here, you were able to see them all behind her. Yeah, well over 1,000 DVDs.
That's awesome, man.
And some of them are physical media that I had to make myself because it's stuff that hasn't been released or you can't get anywhere else. So. This is when I say own physical media, you don't necessarily have to, I mean, of course, buy it so that you support the companies so they continue to put it out, and you have the best quality possible. But if you can't, if they're not releasing it, like, I don't know, a certain Disney film that was groundbreaking and historic, but, you know, an embarrassment to them now, well, you just got to... get it how you can, and then make your own DVD, which I've done.
Star Wars Holiday Special,
and the Star Wars Holiday Special, which we do a rewatch of on this channel every year in mid-November. To correspond with the anniversary of the Holiday Special. So, of course, if you've never seen the Holiday Special and you want to drink, and I recommend that you do drink. And come watch it with friends. Come to my stream. The link's already up in my future live streams. I believe that's, I want to say November 18th or somewhere around there. Yeah, and Cosme link will be available. And every year I do a giveaway where I pull a couple people from the chat. If they want to send me a mailing address, I'll send them a DVD copy of something that has never been released, probably never will be released. And if George Lucas had enough time and a hammer, he would destroy every copy of. So just that. So, Age of Boomer, I know that you're not going to be able to stick with us very long, so I want to pivot to the part of the conversation that I really want you involved with, and that's the main line of Geek Talk's channel. Well, I mean, aside from, the Philadelphia Phillies and, baseball, we can talk about that later. But right now, I want to talk a little bit about gaming and streaming. That's a big part of your channel. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. Why don't you...
right now it is for sure.
Why don't you tell us a little bit more about the games you like, what streaming is like on YouTube, what your experience has been? Just go with it.
Games I like, man. I grew up playing stuff like Dragon Age, Skyrim. Let's see, Mass Effect. I love the RPG games. I love just kind of getting immersed in that stuff, and I don't know necessarily role play, but kind of make the decisions how you want to, not so scripted and whatnot. But now that I have a kid, I don't really have time to do that kind of stuff. So now it's been Warzone, Fortnite, and battle royales, and just
you right now. Play a game called PUBG.
Yeah, that's the first one I ever played. That's what got me into Battle Royale, actually.
Really,
PUBG,
really.
Yeah.
I actually don't know what the difference is between PUBG and Fortnite. They look the same to me.
Huh.
PUBG's, I don't know, more realistic, I guess. Fortnite's more, I don't know. I always considered it more cartoony.
I was going to say, it strikes me as it's more about people that want to do PUBG, but put on costumes.
Well, I always feel like they just suck. Because PUBG, man, it takes some skills, man. It does.
I would imagine so. and Boomer knows this about me. I'm not real big on a lot of those kinds of games. I prefer the games that are either right here on my computer, it's just me playing against the computer, or the very bare minimum of interaction with other people. So like Star Trek Online is one that I play. Yeah. You don't, once in a while you do a pickup game where you do a mission with some other people. They tend to be morons who don't know how to play the mission, and it's just incredibly frustrating. So, you know.
Was it you? I think it was you who was saying on a live stream, Sims. You like Sims?
I know that's kind of a guilty pleasure of mine. Yes,
I love Sims, dude. I don't play it anymore, man, but I love Sims, dude.
What versions of the Sims did you play?
It was the one, I believe it was on my Xbox. It was the one that was more, it wasn't so, mouse and keyboard kind of style.
You were a console guy for the Sims.
Yeah. Okay. I can't remember what
like
Sims it was, but it was more like,
was it the Sims busting out maybe?
Yeah.
It might have been that one. Yeah.
I didn't experience any of that kind of stuff because there was no interactivity with because I was PC and I literally played every iteration of The Sims. I'm obviously on 4 right now, but I was a big modder too. I wanted to be able because really I've heard a lot of the YouTubers that talk about The Sims. They kind of joke about it being like playing with dolls in a dollhouse, and I'm like, I dig that, but when the game is at its best, it's creating stories, and the stories I like to create, or maybe recreate, I suppose, would be for some of my favorite TV shows. So I would have and this was mostly in Sims 3, I had a whole neighborhood that was Smallville. So I had the Tom Welling, Clark Kent, and his farm, and all of that stuff, and the interactions, and and you download custom content, or you create it yourself. The Charmed House. Let me tell you something. I love that house. And so I got the floor plans, and I built the house in The Sims, and populated it, and and got into all of that kind of stuff. And then of course, what happens after you've created the house and you go through the basic storyline of the shows and whatnot and establish the relationships and stuff, then you find creative ways to kill them. You light them on fire, you cause them to get hit by Skylab, you drown them, you whatever. Or now with Sims 4, now it gets really interesting because you have mods like, what is that, like maximum violence or something like that? I don't remember what it's called, but you can shoot each other. You can be an axe murderer. It's
like GTA but Sims, huh?
It's like GTA but Sims. Yeah, there's a way you can kill a Sim by body slamming them and jumping with your butt up and down on their face till you crush their head. And the graphics are great. I mean, they're so freaking realistic. Wicked Whims.
Have you never played Skyrim before?
I have seen Skyrim. I've never played it.
That might be up your alley, man.
That's one Matthew Flynn was talking about on.
It was. What? So Skyrim, if I'm not mistaken, is like a fighting fantasy type of game, right? Like a Dungeons and Dragons-y type of thing.
Yeah, but I haven't. I guess you can mod now on Skyrim. I haven't played in forever, especially since they got the mods. But they got all kinds of mods. You get super creative, and you can. It's not. I'm not saying it's like Sims, but with the creative kind of person you are, you might have some fun in it, man. You can do all kinds of shit on that game.
So Evelyn, and I know this about Evelyn, she said, I created stories with my Sims, and I also retched Sims based on folks who pissed me off. No, that's the other thing too. You can recreate people and work out your frustrations and fantasies and whatnot. Yeah, absolutely. Although I know something else that Evelyn did was when she says she created stories, she would download a lot of the like Star Trek mods, and she would do Star Trek stories. I remember she had the equivalent of like a comic strip that she would do using screen captures from The Sims. Now, if you want to do that, Evelyn, I wouldn't even bother with The Sims. Go to Star Trek Online, create a character, and you can basically do the same thing. A lot easier, and you got all of the locations and stuff to draw from already built in there. But yeah, Skyrim, I might have to look into that. I know that World of Warcraft. I know a lot of people were doing not only mods in World of Warcraft, but they were pulling out the animation elements to make other videos. So you would have like somebody took some of the characters and monsters from World of Warcraft to do a parody video of the Muppets Phenomena, but it was Rafflemau. And the whole thing, when he's doing the scat talking, it was actually all leet speak, and I don't know. It was just really funny. But
what the go, what the fuck?
What the fuck? Yeah, what the go?
Was I talking to you about Goat Simulator, Troy? Did I bring that up with you, or was that somebody else?
This does not sound familiar.
Okay,
what is
never
this
mind.
thing?
Goat Simulator?
No. Now you got to tell us about it, Boomer.
Have you played Goat Simulator, Brandon? I don't know if you have or not.
No.
Oh, it's basically a game where you get to go around playing as a goat, and you get to go and go into someone's house for their dinner and mess up the house, and it's a game where you play as a goat. You just cause mayhem as the goat, and that's the plot of the game.
That really does sound like the kind of game I would enjoy. I would get a lot of fun out of that. And there's a lot of YouTubers doing. I'm not going to say doing the same kind of thing that Brandon is doing. Brandon generally plays these games and plays them straight and does a series of them so you can follow the storylines and whatnot out. But there's a lot of YouTubers and the one that Nanette and I have been following the most lately is Gray Still Plays. He'll play these bizarre. I don't know where he's getting them from, if he's just downloading them on stream or what, but there's like one that's like, and they're all like these cheap foreign games that are like, they use Google Translate to translate their language into English, so the language is completely bass-backward and screwed up, and that in and of itself is funny.
Where are they from, like Latvia or something? Or just
I don't know, but the game will be like, you are filling in for St. Peter at the pearly gates, and you're deciding whether people go to heaven or hell. And he will purposely go out of his way to condemn good people to hell and let, mass murderers into heaven just to see what happens. And it's just, I'm like, this is my kind of gamer. I dig what he's doing. I want to see. And then he'll do that. He'll like, well, now I got to see what happens if I choose this option. So he'll edit the video where he goes back and does it all over again so that you can do the other option and stuff. And it's just, I'm like, I see what you're doing there and I dig it. You don't take this game too seriously. But so how long have you been doing the gaming streaming YouTube-y thing, Brandon?
Probably a little over a year and a half, I think it was. I took a break in between because I kind of got bored and I got too caught up with subscribers and who was, how many people were watching. And that's why I kind of just started streaming a lot now. Is just, I find it fun. I enjoy making videos on pop culture and shit, but I just want to have fun doing it and not get so worked up about how many people are watching, how many people are leaving likes. And so,
I think, you've definitely got the attitude that I'm trying to have, that I need.
It's
to
hard,
have.
dude. I still get worked up when I make a video and I record like 3 or 4 times because I don't write a script. So I get worked up. I try to do one cut. I try not to stutter, mess up my words. And like, I'll make a video for 2 hours. I know that's not a long time for good YouTubers, but I'll put it up and I get like 10 views. And I still get a little upset because, I felt like I worked hard on that. And
I dig it.
Who cares? That's how I look at it now.
Real quick, I got to say hi because I missed him. I'm sorry. I apologize. Daniel Heron, Soundtracks with Birdman. And I see that at least my awesome Blue Wrench deleted scenes didn't miss him, so he's dropped the link for him. Thanks for being here, my friend. I know you usually can't stay long, and I dig that, but thanks for stopping by. But yeah, no, I've had a lot of people, and I've said this on the channel before too, that I have a lot of people that are more successful in the streaming community. Like, for example, Tom Connor from Midnight's Edge, has often said, don't get all caught up in the numbers and stuff, and the monetization isn't all that. It's just it's more like street cred than anything else. It doesn't mean anything, but you got to do it because you enjoy it. And honestly, it's true, because if I was doing this because I want to, get subscribers and I want to get monetized and try to make a living at this, I never would. It would never happen. I'd do it for a couple weeks and go, screw this. This ain't happening. And I'd be done. I do this specifically because I got a great community. It's a small community. It's a small community, but it's great people that, a handful of people that are here every week. And if they don't make it on Friday, they come by on the weekends or throughout the week, leave a comment, give me a thumbs up and say, yeah, this was a good one. And the interaction, throughout the week, even over a conversation that we had on a Friday or on a Sunday on Aged Boomer's channel. And that's the other thing too. That's a big part of what I do and why I do it. Aged Boomer has his own channel and I'm his sidekick on Sundays, and, like yourself and, so many others, it's become every week almost. I have a guest who's a YouTuber that I like, or that I've been on another stream with or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I want to hang out with you for a night, have some drinks, chat about your channel, get you a few more subscriptions. As PJ from Orville Nation always says, we grow together, so I that's what's fun about it. So as a lot of y'all know, I just hit the 500 plus mark. So I got my community tab, which means and that means more to me than monetization, to be honest with you, because I can post some things on there throughout the week, let you know what's coming up. And as a matter of fact, my very first, share on that community tab is letting you all know that next week I'm going to be having a giveaway just to, kind of celebrate the community tab. And the details about it will be coming up this week on the community tab. And, we'll do the giveaway next week.
Will the giveaway be edible?
No. Okay. Well, I mean, technically you could eat it. I don't recommend it.
Bro, do you need me to send you some cookies?
Do you need, yeah. You just had some pie earlier.
I'm fine. I'm doing fine. Thank you.
Right.
Let's see, though. I might ask a question to Brandon
yes.
G. Were you a G4 fan back in the day? Are you following this stuff? Okay, so
no,
yeah.
Like the whole G4 thing, man. Like I grew up, I wasn't really raised like my dad was always had me in sports. I wasn't raised. I always liked Star Wars. I always liked Dragon Ball Z, watched Pokemon, but I wasn't raised like geek culture,
Wow.
And I kind of I really wasn't. I just started, I didn't know a lot about Marvel till the movie started coming out. And I just, as an adult, I kind of came into my own and really started enjoying that stuff. But I was always on the baseball field, football field, and that's just how my dad raised me.
That's fine.
It's kind of fortunate. So I didn't even know who G4 was when all that shit happened. I was like, who are these people? And it was entertaining while it was going on because they were psychos. But
the way they crashed and burned, yeah,
dude. Good, good.
It's getting worse. One of them had a meltdown on Twitter recently too.
That dude,
Adam
who went on a blockchain.
Adam Sessler.
Oh,
I just think it's so. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny, and I feel like it's low hanging fruit to pick on them.
Yeah,
but
it is.
they kind of create it for themselves.
Yeah.
Because for crying out loud, I'm sorry, we say it not because it rhymes, but because it's true. Get woke, go broke. And we see it happening. They are destroying Star Wars and Marvel and Tolkien and now like G4, and they just destroy everything. And I keep telling people, ultimately the pendulum will swing, but it is very, very, very slow. And by the time it does, everyone has walked away from these franchises, and they're going to have to rebuild them from the ground up. Honestly, I think those franchises never come back. I think what's going to have to happen is it's going to take the new thing, the thing that, is independent of the studios and the thing. I mean, look at Star Wars. Okay, Star Wars didn't start as a reboot of some great thing from years ago. It was George Lucas's passion project. He actually wanted to do Flash Gordon and couldn't get the rights to it. So he said, screw it, I'll make my own thing. He went in a completely different direction with it, and it blew up. And it was lightning in a bottle, And as you try to corporatize it and you try to, committee it, you ruin it, And, I mean, so many things. I mean, even when, and we get a lot of people talking about the creators getting their rights back. And so, like, for example, I'm going to have a video coming up in the next week or two about the new Hellraiser film. And everyone's saying, well, this is Clive Barker's getting Hellraiser back. So, it would be like George Lucas getting Star Wars back, right? That doesn't necessarily make it good, guys. George Lucas had some stinkers with those prequels, right? And I'm going to have some things to say about Hellraiser. Just because Clive Barker's doing it doesn't necessarily make it good. It just means he got it back and he wants to make some more money. And how is that any different from the studio wanting to just make money at it and not caring? I mean, so what it comes down to is, just like with politics, it's the economy, stupid. If you want to be successful, you got to make something that people are willing to pay for. And if you antagonize your audience and you drive them away, it's like in Sesame Street. Let's play what happens next. You're sitting up on this pillar. If I pull the pillar away, what happens next? Well, what happens next is I'm going to fall. Okay, cause and effect. Good to learn. It's what we learn in elementary school, right? Apparently adults haven't learned this. You put out She-Hulk and tell all the men to stay away, all the people that bought the comics, this isn't made for you. This is made for wine moms. Well, guess what?
Wine ants.
Guess what?
What?
You go broke, and you don't get a second season, and you all lose your fucking jobs. Shocker.
I think it's getting a second season.
Oh, you think it's going to get one?
Oh, yeah, I do. I watched 2 episodes. Who gives a shit? Do they care?
How are they going to humiliate Daredevil further?
I don't know, man. They'll find a way. I just think right now I think it's a slap in the face. I mean, who's asking for these characters? She-Hulk, Ironheart, these characters, like Iron Man worked, Captain America, Thor, they all worked. And I'm not a huge comic book guy, and I don't know I know Iron Man might have been like a B character. He wasn't like the biggest thing in the comics, but they worked. Nobody's asking. I can't even think of the characters coming out. Miss Marvel, the Marvels. Who's asking for them?
It's see, this is the kind of thing where the real people, Boomer and I are older guys, and we grew up with this stuff, so we kind of know this stuff. And then we see these movies come out, and we're like, the first wave of Marvel films were based on the classic origins of these characters,
right? That
brought these characters into the zeitgeist, right? That created these legends, right? And they took them through, the natural progression, and then they said, well, what do we do with them now? Well, let's go back to the comics. Well, unfortunately, about a decade and a half ago, the comics started to go woke. So in Marvel, what happened was they did a complete reboot, moving to the next generation with the all new, all different Marvel, where they got real diverse and all the classic characters were swapped out for race and gender swaps of the characters.
Yeah.
And so I understand a movie exec going, okay, well, that's what they did. That's what we'll do now for the next phase of the movies. But what they didn't pay attention to was how did that work out for the comics? Because the comic sales tanked after that. They completely tanked. And both DC and Marvel are going through a period where they are literally in the red year after year. They are keeping these companies alive, not because they make money, but because they want to keep owning the IPs to make movies. Well, if you do that with the movies, they're going to go the same way. You know, it's like, what happens next? It happened with the comics. Do we think it's going to be better, you know, with the movies when we do it? Clearly not, because people aren't going to see these movies or watch them on Disney Plus. You know, it's the analogy I've always made is if you get up in the morning and you go to the refrigerator and take your gallon of milk out and you go to drink it and you smell it's gone bad, right? And it's gone chunky.
Ooh, time out. Does milk ever smell good? Since having a baby,
Well,
yeah,
good point.
I can never tell the difference. If there's not a little expiration date on there, I'm like, it smells like shit.
Yeah,
Always
good
does.
point. But when, I'll be honest, when it goes bad, you know it's gone bad.
Yeah.
What do you do with that milk? Do you put it back in the refrigerator and say maybe it'll be better tomorrow? No, you freaking throw it out and move on. And this is what these people don't understand. It went when people didn't read it in the comics. The comics aren't making money. Why would you spend billions of dollars on movies of something that didn't succeed in the comics? Come on, people.
Yeah. Anyways.
Anyway, yeah. So sorry, you got me off on my little tirade, and I'm you know more than halfway through the Kraken, so you know.
Good. This stuff you can see like I consider myself a normie. You know, I consider my wife really a normie, but I see you guys. We get super passionate about it because this is stuff you guys grew up with. You know, you read these comics, but like I look at it from my wife's perspective. She don't give two shits who She-Hulk and all these people are. Like they're trying to introduce, and it's like that goes back to my question: who is this for? And so when you say, "Do you think it's going to get a second season?" I do, yeah, because they're already making shit that nobody wants to watch. My wife loves Marvel. My friends love Marvel. Yeah, they're not watching that shit. Nobody
this is something we. No, I'm sorry. This is something that Boomer and I and a lot of people in the community have talked about, especially back with the Star Wars thing, right? Because that's kind of where we first saw it, where they're pushing away, and they were open about what they were doing. Screw the old fans. We're going after the younger, new audience that doesn't exist yet, right? And from a marketing standpoint, that's ridiculous. That's stupid. Because what you do is you keep the audience you have and you add the next generation. Why? Because who buys the toys for the kids? Not the kids. The adults. Right. And I shared this back after the first two Star Wars movies. There were some commercials that came out promoting not Star Wars directly, but products that were licensing for Star Wars. So, for example, there was a battery commercial for, Christmas morning, for batteries for the lightsaber and your other doodahs and whatnot. And it was Star Wars related. And it was a little boy, and it's interspersed between his imagination and you see it from his point of view. And R2-D2 and C-3PO are in the room. And they're like, R2 gives him the lightsaber and he goes, oh, okay, you got to go save. And his mother says, you've got to save your sister. You're our only hope. I'm on it, Mom. And, his sister is outside being taken away by stormtroopers, and she's dressed like Rey. And she's like, what took you so long? She uses the Force to push the trooper away. He throws a lightsaber to her. They go back to back, and then they start fighting the stormtroopers, and you see it from the parents' point of view, and they're fighting snowmen. And it's like, oh, that's adorable,
What
and
happened
you're like,
to that kind
man,
of creativity?
that's it. That's great,
That's better than any Star Wars movie I've seen. That storyline in a commercial. Like, where's the creativity?
Right, exactly. There's the other one where the father takes his daughter to sits his daughter down to watch Star Wars, like a DVD, and she's like, again. And then he's like trying to buy her, toys and whatnot, and she's not interested. And he's like, huh. And then he can't find her in the department store, and he's walking down the aisle, and he comes around the corner, and she's in the toy aisle with a lightsaber, holding it aloft, and he goes, I am your father, and then they start to bond over the Star Wars, right? It's like, that's it. That's the thing. You need the parents to hand it off to the kids, and it's something for them to do together and so on and so forth. But after the Star Wars, well, it even happened a little bit with the prequels, right? Where you'd see these memes of the kid watching, Star Wars with his father, and is Darth Vader really his dad? Really? Okay. Oh, but Luke, okay, they won, yay. Is there any more Star Wars? No, there's no more Star Wars, just these three. It's like,
I think people hated it. Like, I see the problems with the prequel trilogy, man, but I've always loved them. I think they got unnecessary hate forever, and that's come from a guy who loved it. And I don't know if I should relate to the people nowadays who like the new trilogy or not, but I'm sitting here saying that's it's shit. Well, it's not good.
I watched all of the prequels. I went to see them in the theater. Yeah. And I had some issues with it, but the problems I had with it were like, this would be a much better story if it was stretched out. I think they tried to cram too much into 3 movies.
Yeah, look what they did.
But since then, we've gotten the Clone Wars that have filled in all the stuff in between. And honestly, and I've said this to Boomer many times, I feel like the Clone Wars have kind of redeemed the prequels in my eyes, Okay. So I'm like, okay, I can dig that. And then when I saw Rogue One, for example, I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. They took one little problem that fans have had with Star Wars from the very beginning, the whole, weird, contrivance of the, fatal flaw that destroys the. Oh, it was all part of a sabotage that they were exploiting. That makes a lot more. And those kinds of prequels, that's good writing. That shows someone thinking. But I don't know. Obi-Wan never should have
lazy
happened.
to me. It's I don't think any of these shows. You can say what you want about the Mandalorian, but the best part of those episodes was nostalgia. It was lazy writing, having to bring Luke back, having to bring Ahsoka in. It's just like they can't come up with anything original. And I know people loved it, think it's the most awesome thing in the world. I thought it was stupid. It was late to me. It just was lazy.
I was never a big Ahsoka fan, and Nanette hated Ahsoka, to be honest with you.
I like Ahsoka. I do. I like
she still does.
Yeah.
But what I will say is I see the logic in building on everything else, right? Can't all be about Luke and Leia, right? Sometimes you got to start bringing in new characters. I've said oh God. I loved Gina Carano kind of made that season, to be honest with you. But that was when I saw Mandalorian. Yes, I got the nostalgia. Boomer probably got sick of hearing it from me, but there were little Easter eggs that I just squeed over, like references to Life Day and the Imperial troop transport that comes in. It was a toy back in the 70s that was non-canon, but Kenner created it as like it's something that the Empire had off screen, right? And it showed up in comic books and stuff. And then boom, it got canonized in the Mandalorian. And I'm like, my childhood, yay! I'm justified, But at the same time, I also saw characters like the Mandalorian and Greef Kargan and Cara Dune as the kind of characters we played when we played the Star Wars role-playing game. We'd create our own characters, create our own stories within the Star Wars universe, and you're like, somebody just took some role-playing game characters and made a TV show out of them. I dig that. Now do mine. No, don't worry about it. I got that covered on my Friday night, role-playing game, at the dinner table, But so yeah, I that's kind of what we need if Star Wars is going to continue, is the new stories. I think. Well, let's face it. They kind of destroyed Luke. They kind of destroyed Luke and Han, and because the deconstructionists did the sequels, and nobody cares about that era anymore.
Well, they tried to do something new with the sequel. Then they realized it wasn't working. They had to bring Han, and I had that a little backwards. They did the sequel trilogy. They tried new characters like Rey, Kylo, all this stuff. Realized it didn't work, and now they're just using and abusing all these beloved characters like Luke. I'm sure Anakin's gonna have a bigger role in the Ahsoka series. Boba Fett. Jesus, that was horrible. And then Obi-Wan. You had a story for Obi-Wan. How did you fuck that up? Like that had been the easiest show to do, and you fucked it up.
The fact is, and I'm not even going to do a video about this, but Obi-Wan was a story that didn't need telling. Okay, he goes into exile. I mean, his story is the story that they try to do to Luke in the sequels. He's a failed Jedi. He failed. He effed up. He's got survivor's guilt and PTSD, but his last mission is to keep Luke safe and train him in the ways of the Force so that maybe this thing can be turned around, right? Yeah. Literally, his job is to sit there and wait and focus on Luke. He doesn't need to be running around and having another encounter with Darth Vader that possibly runs afoul of canon and all this other stuff. It's like, no, leave that story alone. That's not a story that needs to be told.
Well, now it's kind of ruined, though, because it's Reva now who basically is why Luke's alive. It's all Reva. It has nothing to do with Kenobi.
Yeah, exactly. Right? But this is that deconstructionist thread, right? This is what Kathleen Kennedy has brought to it. It's like we've got to, and I swear, her line is an insert there when what's his name? Emo Vader, what's his name? Kylo. He says, let the past die. Kill it if you have to. She is literally trying to kill the past. It's these characters. Screw them all. They're old. They're dead. Forget about it. Focus on these characters. And everyone's going, you don't destroy the heroes, because that's why future heroes become future heroes. They're inspired by the past. Don't deconstruct the past, but you know what? These are insurrectionist commies that want to, completely destroy, all of history and all of society so that they can, start their imaginary socialist utopia.
It's lizard people trying to make everybody as miserable as them. That's what it is. That's what it is. Just a bunch of lizard people.
Boomer, yeah.
Can I ask Brandon G a question? You said that you and your wife, you were more, I don't know if you refer to yourself as normies as far as the Marvel stuff went. How do you feel about DC? I'm kind of curious what an average audience.
A lot more news about DC these days.
Not someone who's like read the comics or even watched the cartoons, like someone who's really just would see the movies. Like I know you watch the Marvel movies. Has DC left any impression? The DC movies that have come out, like the
Good question.
Batman versus Superman, Justice League, even this latest Black Adam. Does any of that have an interest to you, or does this go over your just?
There's moments I like. I enjoy The Dark Knight. I love Heath Ledger's Joker. That's struck me a great performance. But now, I liked the Snyder cut. I did. I still think it was a long ass movie. A lot of unnecessary stuff, but I mean, I think it's sad that you need like a 4-hour movie to make it good.
Yeah,
I don't know, but no, not really. Like I give DC a shot. Am I gonna go watch Black Adam in theater? No. Did I like the Robert Pattinson's Batman? I did. I enjoyed him, but nothing memorable. Nothing like go into see Endgame in IMAX. With my family, and no moments like that. Like those are special. I'll always hold those in my heart. But nothing with DC. No.
Let me ask you
hot water.
The obvious follow-up question then, Brandon. Are you old enough to have remembered like the 89 Michael Keaton Batman and all of that?
Yeah, I was born in 93, but I've watched those, yeah. I'm actually shockingly, a lot of people hate this. I really enjoyed George Clooney as Batman. Not a popular opinion. I know.
No. That is another one of those ones, and maybe I am Oh, Moira Kitty. Real quick, want to say hi to you. Thank you. She is always so encouraging, stopping by to say hi. Super appreciate her so much. And a girl saying meow in my stream, that's always a plus. But I'm not talking. I don't have a Nico fetish. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of these movies that I didn't, and you heard me say it with the prequels of Star Wars, right? They grew on me over time. Sometimes I think some of this stuff that I had a problem with maybe looks better historically because we've gotten such shit since then. The prequels look really good by comparison to the sequel trilogy. I had major problems with Superman Returns, but by comparison to Man of Steel, it actually is way better. So I'm starting to lighten up on a lot of that stuff. And I feel like the George Clooney and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to defend him. I get it.
After the Snyderverse stuff, it's like I dig it. And I see where they were going with it too. Because even at the time, it got real campy. And I'm like, they're trying to evoke the Adam West Batman.
Yes.
And it's like, I can get behind that, but it doesn't work in the same universe as the Tim Burton Batman. Yeah, it just doesn't.
I think they argued like Batman Forever was the 1950s era Batman, whereas the Burton ones were supposed to be more like the 40s. The
Frank
Batman.
Miller Batman.
Well, I don't know about that.
But behind the scenes, and Joel Schumacher was actually very open about this. I give him tons of credit. I hated him at the time for what he did to Batman. But in retrospect, I kind of respect him because he came out and he's like, I'm sorry. This wasn't my best work. I'm sorry I disappointed the fans. And he didn't say it directly, but indirectly, he got across the fact that it wasn't his call. He was doing what the studio told him to do. And if you're going to blame anybody, blame McDonald's. It was the licensees that wanted to do all the toys and the Happy Meals and the stuff to sell Batman merchandise to kids. But then it was so violent and dark, especially that second movie, Danny DeVito and whatnot. And Michelle Pfeiffer. I mean, that was great for the teenage boys, let me tell you. But, maybe not so much for the 8 and 10-year-olds, right? There was some problems there. So they were like, pivot, and they pivoted way too far. The good middle ground was Batman, the animated series, that you could see taking place in the Tim Burton verse, but lightened up a little bit for network television, kids, daytime cartoons, So it's like, there's your compromise. That's how they should have gone with the next two Batman films, not completely Adam West farce, And whose idea was the bat nipples? That was Joel Schumacher entirely. That's his fault. Yeah. And why didn't Batgirl get bat nipples? Damn it! Equal rights.
There's one movie to kind of go back to Age Boomer's question. That I think I kind of put on the level of a Marvel movie, like that I really enjoyed. Probably one top 5 superhero movies. I loved the Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman. With Gal Gadot, the newer one, I guess, the first one. I really enjoyed that one. I thought that was on the level of Marvel. I thought that was probably the only real good movie.
A lot of people have said that. The only people that have problems with it now are purists like myself who are pissed because they said it in World War I instead of World War II.
Okay. Well,
they were probably worried. I told you though, the reason they did that was because they were worried about aping on Captain America. They didn't want to have it be World War II.
I understand that. The problem with that,
they're both World War II era superheroes. Wonder Woman,
yes,
Captain
I
America.
understand that. The problem that I have with that is that whereas Disney had to obtain the rights back to all of their Marvel, they bought Marvel Comics and Marvel Studios, and they had to reacquire the film rights for some of their characters, and they're still doing it. They're still integrating stuff they got from Fox. And it's taken years to do. Warner Brothers has always owned DC Comics. They have owned those characters lock, stock, and barrel, and they could have done Wonder Woman back in 1990 if they wanted to. The fact that they waited until after Marvel got the first Avenger out, that's fucking on them. They could have done it and they didn't. So they compound the problem. Like, oh, we'll make it World War I. The historian in me is like, oh, really? World War I and World War II, basically the same thing. Still Germans. German, World War I and Nazis of World War II. The same thing, right? It shows a absolute fundamental lack of understanding of history and personally, I think the character. I've often said I would have loved to have seen it take place in World War II and then have her come back in the modern era, like the 80s maybe or something like that, like they did, and do it as an homage to the Wonder Woman TV series of the 70s, where the first season took place in World War II, and then they rejiggered it for seasons 2 and 3, where she comes back in the modern era, because she's an immortal character, and you still have Steve Trevor, but it's the son or the grandson, played by the same actor. That would have been brilliant, but they can't seem to build on their own successes, right? They can't look at their own source material and say, yeah, this was good. Just do this, I don't know.
Like you said, they have all the source material in the world. It's easy. It should be easy for them, dude. They have the fans. They'll come out in drones if you just do it right. And I don't know how.
So as you're probably getting the impression, even within our community, there isn't necessarily agreement, and that's a good thing in my opinion.
Yeah, you don't have to agree.
Because sure. I like to be able to every now and again, Agent Boomer and I will find a topic that we disagree with and we'll debate on, and it's a lot of fun.
For instance, Troy thought Morbius was like the eighth wonder of the world, and I disagreed on that. I'm kidding, of course.
I haven't even seen Morbius, so
man.
I heard it was pretty bad.
Oh, you have no. I thought Venom was bad, and then I saw Morbius. That's what I want to say. So, and I don't hate Jared Leto. I know there are a lot of Jared Leto haters out there. I don't hate him. I just
man. I grew up loving that guy, man.
I know. I have no problem with him or the cat. I think it from what I've seen, because all I've seen is stills and small clips.
Villains into these weird anti-heroes, and then just
I'm
just over.
But when it comes to the Snyderverse, there's very much a divide in the fandom over some like it and some hate it. I think my biggest hate, and I've been very open about this, my biggest hate about the Snyderverse is it's got good ideas, but it executes them poorly. And as far as Zack Snyder himself goes, if you just look at the DC Snyderverse, you're going to love him or hate him based on that. I look at all of his body of work and go, he's capable of good stuff. For example, and the example I always use is the 300. The 300 was excellent. Why? Because he took a comic book and used it as a storyboard. And he just took the comic and put it up on the big screen. Boom, done. That. Yeah. And I'm like, now, you may or may not agree with the 300 as a comic book, Frank Miller, and it takes liberties with history and so forth. That's fine. But if you're a fan of that comic, you're going to be a fan of that movie. I will argue the same thing about The Watchmen. He did the same thing with The Watchmen. The changes he made were necessary for the medium. Right? He took out all of the... have you seen The Watchmen? The movie?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Did you read the comic?
No.
Okay. So, real quick overview on the comic. The comic tells that basic story, but there's two elements that are eliminated. One is interspersed with that story is a little kid sitting and reading a comic book in front of a newsstand. And in a world where you have superheroes, what kind of comics are you going to have? He's reading a comic about pirates. And it's about a guy who survives a pirate attack by building a raft on the bodies of dead men. People, his crewmates that died, but bodies become bloated and float. So he makes a raft out of bodies to survive. Pretty grim stuff, but it directly parallels the story of the Watchmen. The other thing is interspersed with, at the end of each comic, there are news clippings that tell the history of the previous generation of superheroes. So you get all that backstory. Both of those elements were eliminated from the movie because they don't work in a linear story. But they're all included in the DVD extras. And the linear story is exactly the same, except for the ending, which he greatly simplified. And you have to fit it into a 2-hour movie. And the changes he made, I said, I like what he did. He simplified the story so that everyone can follow it. And kudos to him for that. So again, he did a faithful, good faith adaptation. When he got to Batman versus Superman and Man of Steel and all this, he took decades of comics, threw them into a blender, and hit what the fuck. And just blended it all together and poured it out. And it's like, no.
Troy, I have to get going.
I appreciate you hanging around as long as you did. We didn't talk gaming as much as I thought we would.
It's all right. It's all right.
But thanks so much, Boomer. Boomer, you will, of course, be hosting Geeky Geezers on Sunday, correct?
Yes.
So everyone make sure you're subscribed to Aged Boomer. I have the notes already finished for you, Boomer. I just haven't done the thumbnail yet. I'll get those to you tomorrow.
Cool. Sounds cool. I'll touch base with you later tomorrow. Okay. I'll send you an email. Okay.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right. Have a good night. Good to meet you, Brandon.
Yes, sir. Nice to meet you too.
Bye-bye.
But in fact, this week's Geeky Geezers, this week has been a big DC news laden week. We have Walter Hamada leaving DC Films. We have the Black Adam film just came out, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that. We got some more Ezra Miller to talk about.
Yeah, dude, man.
We're past due for a story on that dingbat.
Well, just get rid of him. I don't understand. Like, that's another thing. You say what you want about CW. I feel like people liked Grant Gustin as the Flash.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? Like Stephen Amell, if you're gonna do a Green Arrow, those are two guys people appreciate. It. CW sucks. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
How much of the CW did you watch?
Oh God, in my dark days, I went probably season 1 through 4 of Arrow, 1 through 2 of Flash, and then I was done. I did watch the 100 though. I think that's a very low key underrated show.
The what?
The 100.
What's that?
Never heard of it. I never finished it. Dude, watch the 100. It's a CW show, and it's shockingly I enjoy.
Is it set in the DC universe?
No, I don't know. It's I don't know what the hell. It's just like
it's some kind of sci-fi.
Yeah, it's a sci-fi. 100 kids get shot back down to Earth to try to make it livable.
Oh, I think Boomer was telling me about this. No, and I never actually got into that. No.
It's CW, so be prepared.
Yeah, the regular followers kind of know where I'm at with the CW on this stuff. I was a huge Smallville fan. Did you ever watch that show?
A little bit.
Okay. I watched Smallville. I will admit that it was on the air longer than it should have been. But it was also during an era where DC, and DC is just now starting to come out of it. I used to call it their not allowing their peas and carrots to touch on their plate era. If they had something on TV, like Smallville, you couldn't have, Superman in the movies. They couldn't be connected. And if you had Batman in the movies, he was never going to appear on Smallville. There was no crossover. And that really hurt Batman overall, because you'd have like a Batman film, like when they did, you were talking about Batman, you were talking about Batman and Robin, but Batman Forever, where they had Two-Face and Riddler. Well, they couldn't use the Riddler in the cartoon because he was in the movie. So they had to come up with another character who was like him. And the same thing happened in Gotham and so many other things where they couldn't use certain characters because they were being used in the movies. And it was just so frustrating and stupid. Where Marvel had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that was directly connected to what was in the movies. And it's like you want that synergy, but... Yeah, so I think DC's starting to come out of that, but I got so frustrated at the end of Smallville. Smallville had introduced, for like a number of seasons, the Green Arrow, right? And Oliver Queen and everything, and he was in that show. And it looked like they were going to spin him off into his own show, and then they decided, no, we're just going to call it Arrow, and it's going to be a completely different actor, and it's completely in a different... And I'm like, why the fuck are you doing that?
I had no idea about any of this.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, screw it. And did you also know? Everyone's like Jason Momoa, Aquaman. Yeah, good stuff. Did you know they absolutely could have spun him off from Smallville too? They had done a pilot for Aquaman, like Superman Smallville.
Yeah.
They had done for Aquaman something called Mercy Reef. It was going to be the same thing for Aquaman, his origin story in a series format. He's a survivor from Atlantis, adopted by a naval guy in Florida who was going to adopt him and, raise him and so forth. And he's going to find out he's the Prince of Atlantis, all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The actor who played him in that pilot was Justin Hartley, the same guy that played Green Arrow in Smallville. Nothing ever came of it. But they had another actor play Aquaman in Smallville, and they could have spun him off into his own show. Never happened. They just can't build on their own successes,
Yeah, it seems like DC never has a plan. Like, they got and I like Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. You got like 2 or 3 different Jokers now in DC. You got 2 different Harley Quinns. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
3 different Batmans. I mean, if you count the Christian Bale, right?
Yeah.
You got Christian Bale, you got Batfleck, and you got Sparkly Bats, and they're all completely different universes. It's like, get your shit together. And so, getting back to your original point there, Brandon, I honestly think that's where they're moving to. I think that's why, that's a big part of why I think the Batgirl movie got nixed. Mm-hmm. They're trying to bring everything in line. How they're doing that, I don't know. I think the intent was, and this brings us back to the Ezra Miller thing, I think they were going to use Flashpoint to do that. And then, of course, Ezra Miller shit the bed and continues to shit the bed.
He's doing weird shit.
So I think they're going to have to rework. Now, one of the things we're going to be talking about on Sunday, there's a rumor out that they are going to replace him. I don't know if that means they're going to somehow rework the footage from Flashpoint. I had heard people behind the scenes saying they can't because he's in like every scene. I don't know. I don't know what they got planned, but they got to do something, Keely Chow says that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to assume genders. I miss the DCAU Batman, the Michael Keaton Burtonverse Batman. Yeah, and this goes back to what I was kind of saying. I feel like the animated universe and the Keatonverse simpatico. They can work together, right? And over on MeWe, I've got a group fixing the DC Cinematic Universe where we imagine how they could have done things differently that wouldn't have been all of these peas and carrots not touching, where they could have started with Smallville. I think you do 8 years of Smallville, 1 year for each year of school for Clark. Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, high school. Then he goes to college at Metropolis University. You could do a whole shakeup where you change the main characters, except for Clark. And then he then you do a movie called Superman Metropolis. And you kind of do a reworking of the original Superman movie, but with Clark, with Tom Welling, and I'm forgetting the name of the gal that played Lois in Smallville. Mm-hmm. And, start the movies while you have spun off these characters, these other characters, to do other TV shows from Smallville, Yeah.
I think DC's problem too is just they're, like what you're talking about building up. They should have done that 30 years ago. Now it's like, it seems like they just have this problem. Like they can't just slow down, take their time. It seems like they're in a race to catch Marvel.
Yeah.
They're not taking the time. That's why the DCU is such a shit show. We got Justice League after one Superman movie, and like why not do a Wonder Woman movie? Why not do a Batman movie? Why not just slow down, do your thing. People argue that DC has better characters than Marvel. There's a huge audience for DC. People love DC. Slow the fuck down.
Yeah.
It's not about beating them. Just do your thing and it will succeed.
So,
get it.
And a lot of objective voices and fans have said, okay, you want to do the same thing Marvel did. It's very clear. It's obvious. They clearly want to tap into that shared universe, right? That's why the Snyderverse became what it was. Unfortunately, they're not willing to look at the formula that Marvel used and go, why did it work and how did it work? Do that, right? They put the cart in front of the horse, and they did it a lot. So whereas you had Iron Man and you had Captain America and you had Thor and you had all these movies that established these characters, and then you brought them together leading up, each one of them had seeds leading up to the story of the Avengers, right? And then the overarching story where you'd go and they'd do their own stories again, and then they'd come back together in a tapestry, right? Yeah. DC did one Superman movie and then brought all of them together without any origin stories, without you caring about these characters, killing off Superman. And it's like, we don't even care about Superman. He destroyed Metropolis and killed people. He's a pariah. Nobody sees him as a hero. And this is why I said that they took classic comics, threw them in a blender and hit what the fuck, because most of Superman versus Batman comes from a story that's supposed to take place in a future timeline that Frank Miller wrote called Dark Knight Returns. And it's an older Batman, who had retired and has come out of retirement. Superman is working for the government and the government's become corrupt, but he still thinks law and order, and Batman is like, no, we work outside the law. They come to blows. They end up fighting. Batman is actually the one that ends up getting killed, right? Or at least he fakes his death. Yeah. That was mixed with a story, The Death of Superman from the comics, where after, many years of being a great hero, he literally puts his life on the line to defend the world against a Kryptonian villain, Doomsday, who's kind of like a Kryptonian Incredible Hulk. Yeah. And he fights him literally to the death. And that's The Death of Superman. It was a classic story and very, very heroic. This is the Superman if you imagine the great hero, like the Christopher Reeve Superman, where everyone's like, Superman, he's a great hero. He's truth, justice, the American way, never would do anything, negative. And he's willing to die to save Metropolis, right? Mm-hmm. They took that story and front loaded it before anyone even gave a shit about who Superman was. Everyone's looking and going, thanks a lot. This alien comes to Earth, brings all of his problems to destroy our city. Good. I'm glad the fucker's dead. I mean, this is simple, basic story. And so this is what I mean. Take the story that needs to come after development and put it at the beginning. Same thing happened with Suicide Squad. Now, this is again, did you see Suicide Squad?
The first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
No, I just didn't understand why they went with Enchantress and you had Harley and Joker sitting right there to be your main villains.
There you go. You keyed exactly on what exactly I was getting at. You knew those characters, so you want to see those characters. Mm-hmm. You had a bunch of other characters in an ensemble that you'd never heard about, didn't give two shits about, and you get their history from this PowerPoint presentation at the beginning. It's like, don't make me do fucking homework, And the reason that the Suicide Squad worked in the comics was all of those characters were villains for the superheroes over the years that got put away and you hadn't seen in a while. And it's like, okay, Captain Boomerang, you've been a Flash villain for years. You want to earn your parole? Here's what you got to do. You got to work for the government. On this suicide op. If you survive, we'll wipe it clean. People cared about that. They were like, oh, I know that guy. It would be like for a normie, and I don't mean this in a pejorative way.
Oh, no, you're good.
Okay? But for a normie, it would be like if they did a Suicide Squad on the DC side, and it was, this is DC, right? If it was, like you said, Harley and Joker, Lex Luthor, I don't know.
Yeah.
Other villains that have been used in other movies, and they were imprisoned at the end of their movies, and they were brought together and sent on a suicide mission, and they had to do the anti-hero thing. That would make a lot more sense. You actually kind of said that.
It makes sense if they, like you said, like if they almost follow Marvel's steps. Do 4 movies. You got Deadshot in one movie as a villain. You got Joker in one. You got Harley in the other one, and then there's phase 2 or whatever. Phase 2, phase 3. Just introduce these characters. Then in phase 3, before we get the Justice League, oh shit, we're getting a Justice League movie, and we haven't seen Joker since phase 1 when he went up against Batman in his first movie. Like, that's cool. But take
not to mention, we're also dealing with a completely different Joker than was in the other version. So again, this is kind of saying, is this even the same universe? What the fuck's going on here?
I don't know. You said you think with the Batgirl, her movie being canceled?
Yep.
Like, if they're trying to rope it in, what's Black Adam? Is he going into the Robert Pattinson universe? Like, where's people love Margot Robbie? If you want to pull some good things out of DC, like her Harley Quinn.
Do you want to hear a spoiler for Black Adam?
Oh yeah, I don't give a shit. Yeah.
Okay.
I love spoilers, dude. Sorry.
Okay, those of you guys in the chat, if you don't want any spoilers, because we're actually going to cover this on Sunday in Geeky Geezers anyway. So if you don't want a spoiler for the end credit scene from Black Adam, maybe turn away now for about 5 minutes. You've had your chance. 3, 2, 1. Okay. The end credit scene is a reveal of the return of the Henry Cavill Superman. Oh, nice. And he confronts Black Adam. And a little sneak peek about what we're going to be talking about on Sunday is, and I kind of shared this with Netter on stream a couple weeks ago. The Rock and Henry Cavill have the same business manager. So they're as actors, they're kind of working together. So So The Rock has been trying to use his clout to keep the Snyderverse alive, keep Henry Cavill, and so this whole Black Adam is meant to set it up to have The Rock, have Black Adam fighting Superman. From a comic book standpoint, the problem is it's not supposed to be Superman. It's supposed to be Captain Marvel Shazam. It's supposed to be Billy Batson.
Okay.
And they're this close. They're this close to doing it right.
Well, you have Shazam set up. That's another good movie that DC, people seem to like.
And from what Andre from Midnight's Edge was saying, because he's actually seen the movie already, he said there's really no significant reference to Billy Batson and Captain Marvel, although there is mention of the wizard Shazam, who gives him the powers, because obviously the origin is connected, but not a strong enough connection that the normies would make that connection. And the comic book fans will be like, there should be at least a reference to Billy Batson here, at least at the end or whatever. Although apparently they're focusing on the Justice Society, the previous generation of superheroes before the Justice League. So we'll see. We'll see. I haven't seen it myself. I can't make a judgment. It's getting good ratings from fans.
That's all I care about. Yeah.
So maybe it's a good movie. Maybe it's enjoyable. And maybe it's the first step in a pivot for the DC universe. Don't know. We'll see.
I don't know if I could say that, man, because I'm a little more connected to the news part of DC and all that. So I'm not so confused with the whole storyline. Mm-hmm. But I feel like you're Joaquin Phoenix, and if you're going to keep doing that and you're Robert Pattinson, it's going to confuse people, man.
Yeah.
If you're just going to go watch, it's another superhero movie, you're going to be confused. And then you're going to go watch Black Adam. You're going to see Joaquin Phoenix's Joker come out in 2 years. And you'll be like, well, that doesn't seem very fucking connected. Like, what's going on?
I'm going to throw out a theory to you and see if you follow my logic here. Have you heard of Batman Beyond?
Yeah.
You know what that is? That's like, it was the animated universe, older Batman training a new Batman replacement, right? Mm-hmm. I have a theory, and I share this with a couple of other YouTubers who've made the same comment, that the Batgirl movie they were working on was originally scripted as a Batman Beyond film, where they were going to bring Michael Keaton in as the old Batman training, the new Batman. Yeah. And they decided, no, we'll do Batgirl. And the fans are all like, no, you don't just substitute Batgirl for, and I'm forgetting the name of the dude who was in Batman Beyond. It's like, they're not the same. Batgirl should be in the same era as Batman. It should be Batgirl, Robin, Batman. That's the Bat family, right? She and Robin are like the transition, right? Where they overlap with Batman, and then they kind of take over later. Robin becomes Nightwing, Batgirl becomes paralyzed and becomes Oracle, and another Batgirl eventually takes over. There is a progression that exists in the comics to follow. Follow the comics. It's that simple. And my theory is that they looked at that and somebody over at DZ said, yeah, that's what we need to do. Scrap the Batgirl, even though it's fucking done. And now there's a rumor going around that Michael Keaton's still on contract and he might do a Batman Beyond movie. So it's like, see? They're going to rework that Batgirl script into a Batman Beyond script, and that I can get behind.
Yeah, I don't remember a lot of Batman Beyond because I was so young watching it, but I remember him just being a badass. Mm-hmm. I loved Batman. I just remember having so much fun watching that show, dude. I don't know. I just feel like there's several little kids like I was that love Batman Beyond, enjoyed watching it, and why fuck that up? You have the audience. You make a Batman Beyond movie and bring Michael Keaton back for people like you, not saying you're old, but, people who grew up with Batman.
No, I absolutely am.
But bring the two fandoms together and bada boom, bada bang. Yeah. You're selling tickets.
And this is, if you don't just want to do one movie and be successful. You want a series of films to go on for decades, making you the money. Well, if you do that, you don't tell the story from the end at the beginning, right? You come up with a plan, right? Just like I said, weaving a tapestry, right? You start with a phase 1, a phase 2, a phase 3. You do your introduction of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and you get a series of films about them leading up to something big. Yeah. Then you start your next phase where you bring in Robin and they take on, sidekicks. You do another series of movies with these characters training sidekicks, right? Then your third phase is those sidekicks start doing their own things. You start the Teen Titans and they do their thing, right? And then
you get a Red Hood, and now you got Batman going up against his,
That's see, you're not as normie as you claim to be, man. Well, you are keyed in. It's a generational thing. Now, you said it yourself, so I don't think I'm not trying to ask too personal a question. You had said, did you say you were born in 93?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm giving you absolute permission to call me an old man. I was born in 71.
I was listening to it.
I'm old enough to be your dad for sure, man.
I was listening to a podcast. Do you know who those conspiracy guys are? Have you heard of them? It's a
no, but I'm interested.
Dude, they were doing a Rasputin podcast, and they were talking about getting old, how the 90s the 1990s is closer, like we're closer. I don't know what they said, but maybe the 70s seem closer than kids today consider the 90s. Like talk about kids referring to the 90s. Yeah. The guy was like, I was talking to this one kid today, and I shit you not, he referred to he was talking. He's like, yeah, the 1900s. He's like, it just made him feel so old because now they're considered like 2020 or it's 2022, and now
it's
they're
true.
Like, oh yeah,
it's
the
true.
1900s. The 1900s. Like,
see
holy shit, man, we're getting old.
Well, let me put this in perspective for you, and I think a lot of younger people don't realize this, but back in the 70s, right? If you wanted to tell a story that was way in the future, it was the year 2000. 2000 was way in the future. That's why you have movies like 2001. 2010, the year we made contact. Yeah. Even look at, have you ever seen the movie Blade Runner? Harrison Ford?
One? No, I don't think I have.
Okay.
I don't think I have.
I'm not going to do a lot of this to you, but that's one movie I recommend you go out of your way to check out. Okay. It's a movie that takes place, the time period it takes place, we've already passed. Their future, we've already passed. And it doesn't look anything like that. But
what universe is Blade Runner? I just learned it's related to some movie that
okay, so we had a conversation on this channel and on Geeky Geezers about this, and there's a little bit of debate between me and some of the community and Aged Boomer. If you want to, in your own headcanon, pull all these things together, you can put Blade Runner, Terminator, Alien, and Predator all together in the same universe. Okay. Most of it is because of little Easter eggs and stuff. Also because same production crews and some of the same producers and stuff like that, directors. So, but especially when you add Terminator into the mix, you could say same multiverse. Like maybe Blade Runner is one timeline, Terminator's another, well, actually multiple ones, and Alien and Predator is kind of interspersed in there. But so there you go. There's your headcanon for the fans.
Yeah, I was watching videos on Predator because I got done watching Predator. Wasn't sure how I felt about it, and I just got down like this rabbit hole of just the history, and I was like, it was like a whole timeline video, and then it said Blade Runner, and I was like, what the fuck?
Okay. Deleted scenes. Calm down. Okay. This is, you got to understand from an old guy's point of view. Okay. This is like when I had Megan Lee on my channel. Mm-hmm. You know who Megan Lee is? Noob Reviews?
Yeah.
you kids I want to adopt. I really do. So I can share, this geekdom with you. And I get to live vicariously through the next generation, enjoying this content, right? This is what we need. We need the next generation who wasn't alive when Blade Runner came out, who needs the opportunity to have some old fart like myself say, check this movie out. I think you'll like it. And then you're going to look at that and you're going to go, ooh, how did I miss this? Well, you missed it because it came out before you were born. That's how you missed it. I mean,
I think one of the reasons why I didn't watch Blade Runner is because I don't like Harrison Ford. He's kind of like a Tom Cruise to me. I don't like Top Gun. And that's
really?
I got burned on that a couple times. I liked the new one. I really did.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool, and it maybe I don't know. I think Top Gun is one of the most overrated films of all time. Like I get it's like a cult classic kind of thing, but it's not a good movie.
I can put it in perspective for you, and let me help out not only you but the chat and anybody who listens to this. You need to understand this, okay? And I'm going to try to mend some fences between the generations here.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that comes up when people are trying to get me into anime. Okay. Oh, you're going to love this. You're going to love this. And I just can't relate. Here's why.
Loud.
Well, part of it is you got to think about why do you like something? You pick, you mentioned sports, and we haven't even gotten to the sports, right? You're a Phillies fan. You like baseball.
Tonight.
There you go. I'm not a sports fan. I don't have that history with it. So if you were to say, oh man, the Phillies are awesome and baseball is awesome, you got to watch it, I would sit and watch it and go, I don't get it. And I think a lot of kids, for the most part, again, I don't mean this pejorative. If I say kids, I'm, I mean, it's just relative. Okay. Younger people than myself who didn't grow up in the 70s and 80s. Okay. You're not going to have the same associations. Why do you like the music you like? Why do you like the movies you like? It's not just the music and the movies. It's an awesome time in your life with great memories, right? And I realized going back and looking at some of the stuff I grew up with, the songs,
oh yeah,
the movies remind me of who I was dating at the time, the activities I was doing, the friends I was hanging out with. All of those memories are tied up in those, right? So when I go to see, if I watch Pretty Woman again, okay, what do I remember about Pretty Woman? I remember, and this is actually kind of the opposite. This is kind of a negative thing, right? I went to see Pretty Woman with a couple buddies of mine when it was in the theaters the week after I broke up with my girlfriend at the time. And I was down, and we go to see a rom-com. And I'm like, fuck, man, And, okay, I don't know if the chat has even heard this story. This is hysterical. So I'm in high school, okay? So imagine yourself in high school, right?
Yeah.
And you just broke up with your girlfriend, right? And you go to see this rom-com with 3 other guys, right? Completely forget about what the story's about, right? You bought yourself a giant popcorn and a big bucket of soda. And you're getting to the end of the movie. You're at the 1 hour and 40-minute mark. And I gotta fucking pee. I gotta pee so fucking bad.
Hey, watch language.
I know. And this is the point in the story where it looks like the girl and the guy are breaking up, and she goes back to being a hooker, and he goes back to his rich life. And I jump, and I'm like, guys, I gotta go. And I jump up and I run to the bathroom, right? Dude, I had to pee so bad, I thought I was gonna be sick. It was just so I run to the bathroom and I'm like, oh, I saw stars. I'm standing at the urinal and I saw fucking stars. Okay? Now, we're like right at the end of the movie and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to go back in there and disturb everybody. You know what? I'm just going to wait here. The guys will be coming out and, we're done. The guys come out looking for me, and I shit you not. They're like, dude, are you okay? You know, patting me on the back. I'm like, yeah, I had a fucking pee. What? And they're like, oh, we thought you were all like upset about the movie and the breakup and stuff. I'm like, oh shit, man. I didn't even make the fucking connection. I don't know.
I'm laughing thinking that you waited an hour and a half during Pretty Woman to go pee.
I know. Exactly. Well, no, you got to understand. Movies have always been expensive. Yes, they were much cheaper back then, but the dollar didn't go as far back then. So I always said, you know, look, I spent so much fucking money on this movie. I'm going to watch it to the end. I'm going to see the closing credits. I'm going to see every bit of this movie. That's the only reason I was there for the end credit scene in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's the only reason, because I had that conviction. From then on, I watched movies to the end of the credit forever, right? So when Marvel came along doing that shit, I'm like, oh, this is old hat to me. I know this, right? But yeah, I would have. But I couldn't make it. I was almost sick, so I went to, and that's a great memory for me. That's a memory that the movie doesn't mean anything to me without that memory, right? Yeah. Star Wars is all tied up in the Kenner action figures and the play sets and all of that, and the Boba Fett mail away, and the living through the Star Wars holiday special that, you know, most people didn't see. I even have a buddy my own age. We're the same age. We're in the same class. He did not see the holiday special. He missed it.
Lucky him.
And because matters like lucky him.
I've never seen it.
No, that's fair. And it was never rerun. It was never rerun. So if you didn't see it that night, you never saw it. I saw it that night. And then I picked up a bootleg VHS, and now it's out there on the internet. You can see it on YouTube, but it'll be more fun if you watch it on my stream where we kind of Mystery Science Theater 3000 it. It's going to be it's fun every single year. You know, Kaylee Chow says, rest in peace, Kenner. You are so right. Even though Hasbro purchased Kenner and uses the Kenner logo, it is not Kenner. And they are not innovating the way Kenner did. And I'll probably be talking a lot more about that next week with our guest next week, who I'll be talking about in a little bit. But, oh yeah, Young Sherlock Holmes. That was great. There was also the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. That was great stuff. But again, all of this stuff is tied up in memories. The music that we grew up with in the 80s that everybody talks about, you're not going to have that kind of association with 80s music unless you listen to it because your parents listen to it all the time.
Yeah.
I love 50s and 60s music, but that's because my mom and I, you know, were close, and she would listen to the oldies channel, and I got to know all of that music. So I love it to this day. In fact, I was close with my grandparents, so I'm a big Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin fan too. So, you know, but if you don't have that association, I understand you not having seen, for example, Blade Runner. However, you are into things today that make me think if you gave it a shot, I think you might enjoy it. You know,
that's fair.
And
that's fair.
You know, I mean, you have some anime knowledge, right? And that kind of thing. I tried. So I like Geeks and Gamers, and I tried watching. They were on a riff about Attack on Titan or whatever that's called. And I tried watching it. I made it like 1.5, maybe a season and a half, 2 seasons, and it's so fucking loud. I'm sorry for my. It is.
Sorry.
No.
They're always
I usually don't care. Netter just she thinks because I'm well into my Kraken that, you know, but
that's a hell of a.
I do. My tongue loosens up the more I drink.
That's good. That's good.
And only on Friday.
And only on Friday. She wants everyone to know I'm not an alcoholic. Okay, so.
Well, like I watched Arcane on Netflix. I don't know if that's considered anime, but I really enjoyed that. You know. Like,
okay. You know, the reason I bring up anime though I'm not a huge anime fan. In fact, if you go back a few weeks, I had Brandon the anime guy was on, and I didn't know most of what he was talking about, and I shared. There was a couple 70s shows that I used to watch that are technically anime, and he kind of laughed about that. But one of the big genres within anime is this cyberpunk concept. You know cyberpunk,
yeah,
right? And you want to. I think it might be the first cyberpunk movie is, in my opinion, is Blade Runner.
Okay.
So if you go into it with the idea that this is a cyberpunk story, an original cyberpunk story, not based on anything,
yeah,
you might get a charge out of it. And if you're not a Harrison Ford fan, I dig it. Try to see past that, but it's definitely worth a watch. It's also based on a novel that they made some changes to that I think. As good as the movie is, I think they missed some things. There's without ruining anything for you. It's about a guy who. It's a world where robots, like almost perfect replicas of humans exist. They're called replicants, but they're only supposed to be used as slave labor out in the outer world colonies. They're not supposed to exist on Earth, because when they're on Earth, interacting with humans, you know what humans are going to do with robots. It's just human nature.
Got weirdos, man.
Right. So there's a whole department of the police force their job is to retire replicants. They literally go out and put them down, Okay. And it's this whole, but maybe they're sentient, and maybe they deserve to live, and maybe they deserve their freedom, and all this. It's a very interesting kind of, mental exercise. But what adds dimension to that is he falls in love with a replicant. Okay? She's actually a special replicant. She's supposed to be one of a kind. Mm-hmm. But then it turns out one of the other replicants he sent to retire is the same exact make and model. At least that's what it was in the novels. So he basically has to kill a replicant that looks exactly like his girlfriend. That's a great story. That's very interesting. Unfortunately, it doesn't play over into the movies because they had two different actresses playing those two different roles, and you completely lose that. And it's like, it's such a minor thing, but it adds so much if he had done that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't such an egregious problem that I didn't enjoy the movie. And for a Star Wars fan, Harrison Ford, there is some like Star Wars Easter eggs in there that's kind of fun. Okay. But dude, yeah, check it out. I would recommend it. And by all means, if you don't like it, come back and give me shit about it. That's fine. That's perfectly good.
No, I know it's popular, man. What do you think about the new one with Ryan Gosling? Do you like that one?
I did like it.
Yeah.
I felt
is how opinion? Or how does the fandom kind of feel about that movie?
That's a good question. I haven't heard anything negative from fans of the original. Personally, I'm of the mind that this is how you do a sequel. Okay, so I don't think this is a spoiler. This is also something that's out in the fandom that you're going to want to think through as you're watching it. One of the things they play around with is Harrison Ford's character himself a replicant? Is he a robot? And they don't answer that question at the end of the movie. And there's like 3 or 4 different, there's a director's cut and an ultimate cut and a ding-dong cut. I don't know. There's a bunch of different versions and the theatrical cut. And each one plays differently with whether or not Harrison Ford's character is a replicant. I love the fact that the sequel doesn't answer that question. Leaves it open. It leaves it completely open. And I'm like, good on you. Don't take a stand on it. Leave it alone. Tell a new story in that same universe. Continue the story. It's good. I feel the same way about Tron. I loved Tron as a kid. I loved the sequel. I'm kind of hurting that they haven't continued with it. It's like all the good sequels that they've done, in my opinion, don't get further sequels. It's like
I remember enjoying Tron, man. I remember that being like, I've never seen the originals, but I was younger when it came out, the new one when it came out, and I remember enjoying it. It's different.
There's nothing wrong with having seen the more recent one and then going back and seeing the original, because I mean, I think you already know the story. You know enough about the story to have enjoyed the sequel. So look at it as a prequel, you know. But and keep in mind, it was done in the early 80s at the very dawn of computer graphics. And you look at that and you go, kind of holds up in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know?
And I hate when people are picky with that kind of stuff. Like, I see people watching, like watching the old Star Wars, and they critique how it looks and shit like that. I'm like, dude, it was made in the 70s. Like, come on.
Well, in fairness, we kind of picked it apart a little bit ourselves over the years, because you can see some of the glitches. There's like the one that comes to mind is Empire Strikes Back. They're flying the speeders over Hoth, and you're seeing it from the inside of the cockpit, and you have these struts. So you have a window on the right, a window on the left, and a window in the front. You got struts in between. And you're seeing bleed through of what's behind coming through that metal bar. And that's an artifact of the blue or the green screen or the blue screen. Same thing in both Return of the Jedi and Star Wars. There's scenes where you're out in space and you see a group of TIE fighters flying, and then they suddenly disappear. And it's like, and sometimes you even see like a lighter box of space around them because it's an overlay on something. But you also have to remember, again, these were all done with practical effects.
Yeah.
There was no CG back then at all. So when you've got the scene of the trench run and they go in, that's all miniatures, and the ship's blowing up and, you see the ship on the right, that's all miniatures, and the aliens, they're all puppets. Yoda, puppet, all practical effects. Now, sometimes
so much better, man.
Yeah,
so
better. And the best movies, even today, the best movies, and I'm not going to be one of those guys that's like, practical effects are always better than CG. No,
yeah. Right
tool for the right job, right? You gearhead at all? Right tool for the right job. You don't use a hammer when you need a screwdriver, right?
Yeah.
And the best movies, you can't tell if that effect is practical or CG. And the one I always refer to is the first Jurassic Park film. Everyone assumes everything in that is CG, but a lot of it's practical. They use the right tool for the right job. And heck, even in some of the Terminator films, the ones that didn't do so well, when they first started like de-aging, what's his name? Arnold Schwarzenegger. The first one they did that in, I think it was the one with Christian Bale. I can't remember what that movie was.
It's not, I don't know Terminator well enough. Is it not? It's
Genesis, was it Resurrection or something like that?
I don't remember.
I don't know. But the point is, they brought in that Terminator, and it was another bodybuilder with Arnold Schwarzenegger's face on him, and they did it like in a lot of shadow and in the background and stuff. And then very quickly something happens where it all gets burned off and he's just an exoskeleton. I'm like, there you go. That's how you do it. You don't have the technology to make it believable. Do what you can and then move on. And so, and they've gotten much better with that de-aging thing, to the point that I look and I go,
it's scary kind of.
Dude, I was watching the Orville. Have you seen any of the Orville?
Oh gosh,
that's the Seth MacFarlane Star Trek-y type show.
What's up with the new season? I haven't finished it.
It was on Hulu.
I know. Did people not like it? Was something wrong with it?
No,
I never finished it.
The fans loved it, but if you don't have Hulu, you didn't see it. See, that's the problem.
I love Orville 1 and 2. It was just so long, so I rewatched them all.
Season 3 was great, and that was it. There was an episode of season 3. They have. It's like Star Trek. You got to think of it like Star Trek: The Next Generation. They have like the equivalent of a holodeck, right?
Yeah.
Holographic technology interacting with AIs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. there's an alien that, for whatever reason, she is a big fan of Dolly Parton. Remember, this is like in the 24th century or something like that. So this is a historic character, Dolly Parton. Yeah. Dolly Parton did a guest appearance. And I'm watching this and I'm going, man, for as old as Dolly is, she looks great. What I didn't realize is they use CG to de-age her. I'm like, it was so good I didn't even realize. I'm like, holy cow, you know? It's scary. And now, you know, you got Mark Hamill selling his visual rights to de-age him. When he dies, they're still going to be using him in movies and shit. It's like, it seems kind of grisly, but I do understand it. Yes, deleted. I knew I could count on deleted scenes. Terminator Salvation is the one that I meant. Yeah.
I think deleted scenes just followed me on Twitter. Thanks for that, buddy.
Yeah. But, and you know what? Everybody who's listening, make sure you follow Geek Talk. We haven't even really talked much about your channel, and we should have done.
Dude, I just wanted to have good conversation, man. I love what
that's really what this is all about. And honestly, I think I could totally see you doing a lot of these kinds of talks on your channel too, because you bring that different perspective, right? You are of an age group that is older than the young people, but younger than us old folks, and you have a perspective that's unique, and you're open to. Yes, see, Evelyn is saying the same. They de-aged Dolly and Orville. Yes, they did, and I swear to you. Go back and watch that episode even knowing that she was de-aged, and you're like, I don't see the CG. That's how good the CG is, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Then you compare that to She-Hulk, and it's like, what the fuck happened?
I watched 2 episodes of that, and I was done, and then I've been seeing clips on Twitter, and I'm like, okay, okay. That's just... Like, one thing, say what you will about the movie, I think one of the more impressive practical effects recently was that Predator shit. Did you see that clip of behind the scenes of the Predator?
I did,
dude. I thought you didn't.
No, I didn't.
Oh my gosh, you got to watch. It is impressive.
You kind of got to give me some context. What was the scene you're talking about?
So it's not really a scene. It's just behind the scenes filming the guy in his Predator get up, man, and it's just so impressive.
Is it like motion capture type stuff, and then they CG'd the Predator over him?
No. It's he's just in his. He's all geared up in a Predator outfit, and he has you can tell he has like wires in his hand to make his mouth move, and it's fucking. Dude,
what you don't realize is that was true in the original Predator. The original Predator was the same thing.
I'm glad they kept that.
Yes,
it's just mind blowing how good it is.
So I don't know if you knew this or not, but the first Star Wars prequel, what was it called?
Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace, thank you. Yes. So Yoda is in it, and he's in the Jedi Council chamber, and he looks like shit. It's all CG. They got a lot of crap for that, and they very quickly gave it the George Lucas thing and re-released it with new CG. And the way the CG improved was they went back to basics, and the CG animator said, okay, Yoda in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi was a puppet. And he was literally a hand inside of a foam rubber head, right? And when he'd turn his head, those ears would flop a certain way, and his mouth would move a certain way, and he had a certain look. He said, we've got to create that puppet in the CG sphere. So they literally remodeled it with a hand as the skeleton and built Yoda around it. And they put in the physics for the floppy ears and the rubberized face and stuff. And he looked way, way better. So if you look, there's 2 different versions of the Phantom Menace with 2 different versions of Yoda. And one looks like he's going through like some sort of medical treatment. He's put on weight. And the other one looks more like a puppet, even though it's CG.
I feel like that kind of creativity is missing in movies now, man. Like that, just the magic, like stuff like that. Just.
And this is why I appreciate I am not like a lot of old folks that are quick to poo-poo the CG. It's just a new tool, right? Yeah. And when I watch YouTube channels like the Corridor Crew, do you know about them?
What was that?
The Corridor Crew?
I don't think so, no.
It's a group of CG animators that they got their notoriety doing two different kinds of videos. One, they took those, those robots, the dog robots, and the one that carries the boxes, and you can push them over and they keep their balance and stuff. Yeah. I forget what company is that makes those robots. Well, they took those robots, digitized them in CG, and had a guy motion capture that robot, and they did videos of it firing a gun and then shooting at people and stuff. And it's joke, it's parody, but it looks very real. And people thought those robots are being used with, no. It's just these guys doing CG. They did the same thing with, they take different scenes from movies that are like bad CG and they fix them. And they do a phenomenal job. The best one is they take that scene from The Mummy Returns with The Rock as the Scorpion King. Yeah. Horrible. And they redo those scenes using like a deep fake kind of thing. Uh-huh. And you look at it and you go, these guys are fucking awesome, But that aside, they talk through their process and why things look good, why some explosions in cheap CG look like shit, and why others you can't tell aren't practical effects. Yeah. I mean, let's face it, practical effects with pyrotechnics always looks the best, but sometimes you can't blow up the White House.
Even if you'd like to.
So, no, I don't want to get into a Madonna situation. I'm making a joke. I would never do that. I don't care who's in the White House, okay? But, Boston Dynamics. Thank you, Keely Chow. That's who I was trying to think of. Exactly. Okay. Anyway, the Corridor Crew. Look them up. I think you'd get a kick out of their content. But they break down a lot of special effects. And they will do the same thing. They will sit and watch some scenes, and someone will go, is that CG or special effect? Or practical effects? And sometimes they get it wrong. And it blows their minds.
What's that one? I think it's like a similar channel where they're like sitting on the couch judging. Mm-hmm.
That's them. That's them. Oh, that's the Corridor.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so who I'm talking about. Yeah. And they'll bring in like the special effects artist that did it, and he'll say, this is what we did, and they'll be like, "You're kidding!" That's got to be.
Some of my favorite stuff is like the older movies with like the old fight scenes when they do that shit. Like they bring an expert in and whatnot. Yeah, I love that shit.
You ever watched any behind the scenes with Jackie Chan?
No, but Jackie Chan, he kind of went downhill. He's kind of an ass, I guess, today, but he's impressive.
He's kind of gotten full of himself, but if anyone deserves to be full of himself, it's him. He does all of his own stunts, and it's all real. Everything he does. When he jumps from the top of a building, down 5 floors to a ladder or whatever, he's really doing that.
Well, like, is it Rush Hour, the bamboo scaffolding that he's like going down? Is it Rush Hour 1 or 2? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't remember which movie, but I know the scene you mean, yes.
Yeah, fucking nuts.
Yes, he's really doing that shit. Yeah. It's fucking amazing. And he like breaks his leg, he breaks his foot. There was that scene I was just talking about where he jumps down to a fire escape 5 floors down. He got the shot, but he broke his foot doing it. So the rest of the movie, he had to be in a cast. So there's a scene later on where he's water skiing, and he's wearing a cast, and the cast has a gym shoe painted on it, so he can get the shot. I'm like, this guy's knucking futz.
Then there's the one where he jumps through a very tiny window.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know exactly what she's talking about, right? Yeah. Yep. I don't know how the fuck he does it, but he's awesome. So yeah, if he's an arrogant ass, I kind of understand it.
It might be Shanghai Nights when he has the he's fighting those guys with the metal serving dish. Have you seen the behind the scenes with that?
I have, yes.
Oh my god, dude, he was phenomenal. Yeah, Jackie Chan's the man. I love Jackie Chan. I think him and Owen and Shanghai Nights is the shit.
I've seen interviews with some of the guys that were like stunt doubles and whatnot in his scenes and whatnot, and he said, "Look, working with him, nicest guy as far as my interaction with him, because what'll happen is if there's a mistake, right? Because sometimes those punches and kicks connect." Okay. And he knows it when it happens, and he's a consummate professional, and he finishes the scene. And as soon as the director says cut, he's over there saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Do we need to call?" I'll be fine. Okay. If you're sure, and he's such a nice guy about it. He doesn't ruin the take, because if you're going to break your ribs because you took a real connect, let's make it count. Right.
I'm going to pull a Christian Bale, right?
Right, exactly. Or what was what's the name of the guy that played Strider in the Lord of the Rings?
Oh God, not Hugo
somebody in the chat's gonna help me out, but you know that story, right?
What's his name? Yeah, when he kicks the helmet.
He kicks the helmet and breaks his foot.
It's not Hugo Weaving. What's his name? Viggo Mortensen. Viggo
Mortensen. Right. He kicks the helmet, but the helmet was on a rock. So he broke his toe, and he falls to his knees, and he screams in agony. Turns out he was screaming in pain, but it fit the scene so well, they kept the scene. It's like, that boggles the mind. And he's like, if I'm going to break my fucking foot, use the damn scene,
Yeah. Have you been watching House of the Dragon?
I haven't seen it, and the reason is, I'll wait until the thing's over. And when it's done, I want to make sure it doesn't do the same thing that.
Oh yeah.
Well, see, the same was true of Game of Thrones, right? First,
I don't want to talk
5 seasons were awesome, and then it became shit. And I don't want to invest in something and have that happen to me again.
There's a scene in this 2 episodes ago that was it's one of those moments that I don't know how true it is. I read it, but there's a scene where like the king's he's on his deathbed. Sorry for spoilers. But he's walking up to the Iron Throne, and his crown falls off. And Matt Smith is what I read. He just improvised picking up his crown. And these 2 brothers like basically hated each other. They never saw eye to eye throughout the whole season.
Yeah.
And he's shown respect because he's just impressed that his brother's doing this. So he picks the crown up, puts it on his head, and they continue going up to the Iron Throne. And that was all improvised. And it just made the scene that much more powerful because these 2 dudes did not like each other. And then now his brother's being a king. He's being powerful, and he's just so impressed by it. He helps him. He carries him up, picks the crown. I thought it was cool as shit. But it's improvised scenes.
So I'll give you another one. And this is an old man story. You ever seen a movie called It's a Wonderful Life? Okay.
So.
Brandon,
maybe.
Take my advice on this one. You can forget everything else I've suggested to you ever before. We're coming up on the Christmas season. At Christmas, I want you to get the movie It's a Wonderful Life. Watch it with your family.
Okay, let me type that in and screenshot it real quick.
Okay.
1 second. It's a Wonderful Life. Hold on. Sorry.
I may even do a rewatch of that on my channel. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Okay.
All right, we got it.
Okay. Black and white. I know younger people kind of, get stressed out at black and white films or whatnot. So it's a story. It kind of started a genre in and of itself because it's a story about a guy who has had a rough life, and he's at the end of his rope, and he says a prayer, and he's literally standing on a bridge ready to jump, and he says, "God, give me a sign because I'm at the end of my rope here," And what the whole movie up to this point was the angel that's going to answer his prayer is being briefed on his life. So we're seeing his life in brief from the angel's point of view. Okay, to get the backstory so that we can, then follow where it goes from there. And the angel says, you can't throw your life away. That's God's most precious gift. And he goes, you're right. I guess it would have just been better if I'd never been born. And the angel goes, hey, wait a minute. Maybe we got something there. He goes, okay, you got your wish. you've never been born. You now exist in a world where you were never born. And he sees what that world is like, how his friends are different, how his wife is different, all of these things. And he realizes what a good life. I'm kind of spoiling it for you, but the journey is what I've watched this movie more times than I can count. Spoiling it doesn't ruin it.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of thing you're going to want to pass on to your kids. Trust me. And he sees how bad things are, and he realizes that as bad as things have been for him, he's had an incredible impact on the world. You never know what kind of an impact you've had on people, right?
Yeah.
Dude, one could argue the same thing. You may do a stream that you don't know anybody watch, but maybe it has an impact on them and it changes the course of their life, just by suggesting a movie or whatever, So that's It's a Wonderful Life. Anyway, there's a scene before he's going through the alternate history where this is the lead up to him meeting the girl that he's going to marry and whatnot. He's at a party and his uncle has gotten shit-faced. And they both come out. He's come out of the party because he just wants to get some fresh air. His uncle comes out and he goes, well, I need to be getting home now. And he looks down the street. And goes, can you just point me in the right direction? And he goes, that way. He goes, that way? Okay. And he walks off camera and he's singing. And then all of a sudden you hear boom, smash, crash, crash, boom. And he's off camera. You don't see what's happening. And the main character turns and looks and he's like, I'm all right. I'm all right. Behind the scenes, what happened was during the filming of that scene, he goes off camera and a stagehand who was carrying reels of film tripped and dropped them all. It sounded like a bunch of garbage cans that Uncle Billy had crashed into and tripped over. So he just went with it. He goes, I'm all right. I'm all right. And they kept the scene. In fact, legend says that the kid that made the mistake, who thought he was going to get fired, ended up getting a bonus for improving the sound quality.
Oh, shit. Hopefully you did.
There you go. So, oh my gosh. Right? If you don't get to the end of It's a Wonderful Life crying,
you're not human.
You're not human. You don't have a heart. I mean, that is a good cry at the end of that movie. And you watch it at Christmas or you watch it at New Year. Either way works. I recommend Christmas, but definitely. And it's a family film, so definitely watch it with your wife and kids.
We love Christmas movies, man. We love Halloween movies. We love getting all festive. So yeah, I'll add it to
the
list.
Good. And keep your son close. And even if he's too young, watch it with him. Watch it with him every year until he's old enough to understand what the story's about.
Okay.
It might be the movie that you watch on Christmas Eve that puts him to sleep, but he'll appreciate it when he's older, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. It's cool. He's a year and 8 months, and it's cool. Showing him movies. He doesn't understand them right now, but showing him movies I've watched and stuff. And there's one that really sticks out. That's really cool. It's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep.
He was probably 9 months old. And he was just standing on stuff. He wasn't doing much. He couldn't walk. He was just crawling and climbing up on shit. And the opening scene to Guardians of the Galaxy, when it comes, it's the song by Redbone, "Come and Get Your Love."
Come and get your love.
Yeah, that song.
That's a great fucking soundtrack.
And that little kid, he was sitting on one of his walkers, and he just looks back at the street and at Chris Pratt dancing, and he just starts shaking his little ass and just starts looking at the song. He loves that fucking song, dude. And that's just one of those things that movies, how powerful they can be, just creates
that movie is just perfect for me because you got him listening to this mixtape that his mother gave him, right? And I would be right in that age group of his mother, right? That was the music I grew up with. As they're playing, I'm like, oh, great song. It just And it's funny because this is how nostalgia works, right? So back in the 70s, when I was a kid, what was one of the most popular shows on TV? Happy Days, which takes place in the 50s and 60s, And my mom was, and a lot of the songs in it were 50s and 60s songs. So my mom was like keyed into it, and so I appreciated it. Then when I was old enough to have had kids, I didn't have any of my own, but had I had, the TV shows were like That 70s Show. And I looked at it and I'm like, my gosh, That 70s Show is the Happy Days of this generation. It's like, And now there's like shows taking place in the 80s and 90s. I'm like, I guess this is how TV works, I mean, it's the nostalgia. So, but yeah, I think you kind of get that. I think you get that.
So I definitely
go ahead.
Share though. Just like you said, just share your moments with your, your kid, your family, whatever. It's just, I don't know. It's cool to see it. I haven't got to do it much because he's so young, but just seeing and watching him watch stuff I enjoy, and then seeing that little slight reaction. And he loved that song for like 8 months. I shit you not, dude. Every time he would scream in the car, we'd put it on. He'd be just start jamming,
Good.
Dude. And I was like, dude, it's so awesome.
And it's what connections he makes, right? Yeah. I mean, so there's a lot of kids that are loving that music. That's like their parents and for some of them grandparents, music, and they enjoy it because A, it's a good song, but B, they associate it with, I don't know, Baby Groot dancing or whatever, Mm-hmm. And it's those associations that are going to, keep that kind of stuff alive. So over on Geeky Geezers, me and Boomer, because we're old farts, we liked, because so much of the geek news that we share is kind of disheartening, we try to start out each show with something we call the good old days, where we share something that's a fond memory of ours that, the younger generation might not have heard of, but might want to look into, Yeah. And lately we've been doing some videos, some segments on videos from the 80s, back when MTV first started, back when they played music, Yeah. And so, it might be the kind of thing you might get a kick out of checking out and finding out why.
Sure.
Total Eclipse of the Heart was a great video and a great song.
Oh, dude, I love that song, dude.
Have you seen the video?
No, I haven't.
Dude, check it out. It's a trip.
Okay.
Every good video tells a story, right? And it may or may not relate directly to the song that they're telling, right? Total Eclipse of the Heart, the story behind the video is a female teacher at a private school for boys. And from the point of view of a teenage boy, it's hot. From the point of view of an adult parent age, it's creepy as all shit. Check it out and see if it doesn't scramble your noodle. It's yeah, and I think everybody who's ever seen that video is going, yeah, I know what he's talking about. We're gonna do a special on a Weird Al Yankovic pretty soon too.
Is that Daniel Radcliffe's playing him in a movie, huh?
Yes, which I haven't seen yet, but yeah.
Is it out?
He's all shit.
Yeah, he looks just like him. Yeah, I think it's already
weird.
out. I
I
think.
didn't know that. Okay.
I mean, I've seen stills from it.
I think I
He
saw a
looks
trailer.
horrid.
He does look horrid, but he kind of does look like him. Like
I
kind of
thought
a
Weird Al
He
picked
looks
him,
like a
didn't he?
serial killer.
What's that?
Didn't Weird Al pick him? I thought he
don't know.
did. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know, but it's probably one of those things like, yeah, he's good enough and he's popular and it'll make
Okay,
me
let's
some
do
money.
Harry
Go
Potter,
for
yeah.
it. I mean, but Weird Al, you know who he is, right?
Yeah.
Does parody songs. His history is very, very interesting. And some of his parodies I heard and loved before I heard the original songs, So Nanette and I, and the community kind of knows this. When Nanette and I were first dating, we used to go to karaoke all the time. And so I used to do, like for our birthdays, we'd have special parties at the karaoke club. And one year we went with our church group, right? Mm-hmm. So when I got up and the song that started to play was Madonna's Like a Virgin, some of the brothers in the church were like, dude, what are you doing? Until they heard the opening line, I finally made it through med school. It's like, oh, I see what he's doing. But, Deleted Scene says that no, I missed it because it's on Roku. So, yeah, we could check out that Weird Al film that we were just talking about.
Oh, okay. Right.
But real quick, say hi to the Bosco Scenario. Yes, we are doing very well. We are just wrapping up right now. Hope you'll go back and rewatch the rest of it. Super appreciate you to all the chattos. Not to be confused with Call Me Chatto. That's a different YouTube channel, which I like very much. It's definitely worth checking out. But anyway, boy, we've really kind of gone over. We've done some geek talk, I guess we have, haven't we?
A lot of shit, man.
I had really meant to spend more time talking with you about gaming and streaming and maybe even get into the baseball a little bit, but we didn't quite make it. But that's just a perfect reason for everybody in the chat to just go follow the link in the description, or Deleted Scenes has been dropping it throughout the night. Go subscribe to Geek Talk and with Brandon G, and check him out. If you have your YouTubes up during the day while you're at work, especially if you work from home like I do, and he goes live and he's streaming a game, jump on there and say hi and give him a thumbs up, because it's a lot of fun. And this YouTube thing is hard, and we need the encouragement to keep us going.
Sir,
but one last real quick question about this life that your Geek Talk life, and the streaming and the movies and all the genre stuff that you do. Where's your wife at on this? Is she digging what you do? Can you share some of that with her?
She's definitely full support. But it's just a weird thing, because it's hard to balance being full time. We're all new to it. Like say we had a kid a year and 8 months ago, and it's hard sometimes, because we want family time, we want to go out and do things. We want like tonight. I had this scheduled 2 months ago, and my brother and sister want to do something. I was like, no, gotta go do it. And she understands that. She's like, yeah, let's go do it. She's fully supportive. So she lets me do it. She lets me do it. But, at times, we got to go, let's go on a date. Let's go do this, because if this was a full-time thing and I could treat it as a career, she'd be all for it. But right now it's kind of like a hobby, it's do what you can. And she supports me, man. It's awesome.
I dig it. Awesome. I mean, not everyone can have the kind of circumstance I have where literally everything I do with my wife, She's right here blue wrenching for me. And when Boomer can't make it, she jumps in as the co-host, and a lot of people have really enjoyed that and whatnot. She needs 27 more subscriptions to get to 200, by the way. So,
because YouTube sucks.
Because YouTube sucks. So
it took away like 10 from me.
Yeah, I know. So Deleted Scenes just dropped the link for her. Please give her a sub if you haven't already. But yeah, doing things together is always the best.
I've tried to get her out. We want to do a podcast, but I don't know. She works at an attorney's office, so she's really into crime and law and all that stuff. And I've always sort of let's do it.
That stuff's real big right now, man. Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of thing that see, this is where LawTube took off during that Amber Heard business. So that would be a great between, and that was the intersection, right, between a big legal case and geekdom, because she was, Mura in Aquaman, and then you had Walter Hamada come in as a witness and all that. Yeah. That's the kind of thing that where you and your wife, doing a chat together on that would be awesome. I mean,
I got to get her used to a camera, man. I think she'd have a blast doing it. I think she would.
Well, what it is you just pretend. I mean, because let's face it, you and I have been talking like we're sitting in the same room together.
Yeah.
And the chat. This was always my shtick for Friday Night Last Call. I'm sitting in a pub. You come and sit down. We're having a chat, and all the people in the chat are all the people around us. Maybe getting into the conversation, in and out, talking with each other, and we're just sharing a drink together. So I mean that's. That's the way to do it. Yeah, there's a camera there, but how is that any different than sitting down with someone in a pub?
Right.
I mean, it's basically the same. It's just we're sitting in a pub, but we're just across the country from each other. Are you in Philadelphia? Are you in Pennsylvania?
No, Arizona. My the reason I'm a Phillies fan, Eagles, Phillies, is my dad's from Philadelphia. So I was born in New Jersey.
I dig it.
All the way in Arizona, but yeah, we're in Arizona. So,
and that's you get your sports affiliation from your parents, just like usually your politics and everything else. But same thing here. I've never been a huge sports fan, but I nominally say that I'm a Sox fan. Okay, so if you know Chicago baseball, there's the Sox and the Cubs.
Them's fighting words.
See, my wife is a Cubs fan. Nominally Cubs fan. Nominally a Cubs fan. There is no real conflict, but we play it there being a conflict because she grew up on the north side of Chicago. You grew up on the north side of Chicago, you're a Cubs fan. My grandfather was a South Sider, so he was a Sox fan. And there was that friendly, rivalry. I said, my gosh, if the Sox and the Cubs ever both made it to the World Series, the city would be fucked. Who would have known that the city's fucked anyway, and it has nothing to do with sports? But
I went my whole life because I was born I've always loved baseball. I love playing it, but I was never a big watcher of it until like 5 years ago. So I'm kind of spoiled. The Phillies almost to World Series this year. I haven't put the time in.
Have you ever been to a live game like in park?
Yeah. We always every series in Arizona for the last 4 or 5 years we've gone. Every time Philly comes to Arizona, but my whole life I've been a diehard Eagles fan. Like. Never missed a game, thick and through. I went my whole life saying I will never marry a Cowboys fan. So I'm impressed that if you being a Sox fan, marrying a Cubs fan, and getting along. I would never get along with a Cowboys fan. I'd lose my damn mind. I would lose it.
This is something that we mention whenever we talk about subscribing to each other, and I'm going to mention it to you too. The Bosco scenario brings up a very important point. It's important to sub, like, and comment on videos. If not, you lose the sub. So this is what a lot of us think happened.
Really?
So I was on a stream with on Pops on Pop Culture, and there was a big panel, and we all subscribed to each other, and a lot of the chat subscribed to me, and I gained 25 subscribers in one day. The following day, I lost them all. And one of those subscribers was the Noob Reviews. And she's like, I subscribed to a whole bunch of people and I'm not subscribed to them today. What happened? And I had just said I had 25 subscribers yesterday and I lost them all. And I said, see, this is what happens. So what happens is if you subscribe to somebody, you can't just subscribe to them. You got to subscribe, go like a video, watch some video, maybe give a comment. It really helps the channel, but it makes sure that the YouTube algorithm says, okay, this isn't a bot. This is a genuine, subscription. So, and that's why, I make sure that I stop by people's channels every now and again, give a shout out, like a video. I mean, you probably see me doing it on Twitter all the time. I'm sharing other people's videos. Mm-hmm. But then I go to their video, hit like, and drop a comment just so, that subscription stays alive. And I think maybe it encourages people too a little bit, I hope, But so anyway, just a little bit of how to deal with the YouTubes and the algorithms and the algorithms, as I like to say. But anyway, what can our those people in the chat who have now subscribed to you, because I'm sure you have subscribed to them by now, what can they look forward to on your channel in the coming weeks?
Well, when I get a schedule figured out, because I just started a new job, I'm doing 6 to 6 shift work, so it's been a kind of a shit show lately. But I want to start talking pop culture again. You know, I've been doing a lot of movie reviews, having fun with that. Streaming, doing some Fortnite, just gaming, talking pop culture, and having fun. So
good, man.
That's about it, man. Really, no schedule with anything. Just
that's fine.
Randomly right now.
So something to think about, though. You know, I mean, you saw in I scheduled you months out, and if you look, you can see like for over a month. You know, I have my guests. I've got the stream already planned, so people can come and see, because it's not like back in the old days where TV Guide you could look up and see what's coming up in the next week or so. You know, so that's one way to do it. And look, man, if you need a guest host to come and chat about something you think that I'd be good for, let me know. I'd be there for you.
For sure. Hell yeah. You know, appreciate that.
But that's great. So let's see. What do we got coming up in the next? So I've already mentioned, but I will mention it again. Tomorrow night over on Big Al Presents, Big Al and Netter and myself will be doing a watch party of the 1970, was it 78, 76, 78 film
78.
Piranha, which I guess is billed as a horror comedy. When I saw it as a kid, it scared the crap out of me. I didn't realize there was any comedy there, but I'm sure now as an adult, it probably will have a few laughs for me.
You mean like Amityville Horror?
Oh, so Amityville Horror, you ever heard of that movie?
Yes, and my favorite one's the Ryan Reynolds one. Judge me now, but yes, I love it.
So that is a remake of a 1970-something film. Mm-hmm. The female lead in that was Margot Kidder, who played Lois Lane in Superman.
Oh.
And actually, you get to see a little bit more of her in that movie than you do in Superman, because R-rated. But back when R-rated meant something. And as a kid, I saw that movie, and I probably should not have, and it scared the crap out of me. I had nightmares. You know, I was sure that when the lights went out, the glowing red eyes of the evil pig were outside the window. I mean,
I watched that shit face like 5 years ago, and I was spooked by myself. It was shit face, and I was, dude, it got to me.
So that was me as a kid, right? And jump ahead, 20 years, 25 years. I'm married, and going through a period where I was just trying to share my life before I got married with my wife. Because it's like, look, I want you to see the movies I loved. I want you to go with me to the places where I grew up. I'll show you around, kind of walk you through the history of me so you know who I am and why I am the way I am, right? So one of the films I had her sit down and watch with me was, look, I know you don't like scary movies, okay? I want you to watch this one with me. This was a scary movie that has really shaped my understanding of scary movies and, and whatnot. And kind of understand why I'm screwed up the way I am, right? Don't worry. I'll be sitting right here with you. We'll watch it together. I can hit pause. We can take a break, whatever, right? We get to about the halfway point of the movie, and she looks at me and she goes, have we gotten to the scary part yet? And I'm like, honest, this was fucking scary when I was a kid, But she was right. It's like, there's nothing fucking scary about this movie.
And I had read all the books.
She had read the books, so she basically knew the story and stuff and whatnot. But I don't know. You're right. It doesn't hold up as well. The memory of it being scary didn't,
I don't know. If I'm talking about the same movie, man, I remember watching it, shit face, and I was like, I don't know why, but I was spooked. It scared me.
Look. So this was after we were married. A movie. Nanette was working a second job, right? Hey, I'm going to tell that story. Yeah. She's over here laughing. She still laughs at me about this. We were living in an apartment on the north side of Chicago, right? Remember, it's an apartment. We're renting. We don't own the building, right? I take her to work. She's working at a department store part-time, it was around the holiday season, so you make good money that time of year.
Right,
So.
pause. Hi,
Yeah.
PJ.
Oh, PJ Orville Nation. Hey there, man. How's it going? Good to see you. Speaking of the Orville, he's definitely someone you want to subscribe to.
Okay.
So I take her to work. I drive her to work, drop her off. She's going to be there for, 6 hours or so. I'll come back and pick you up. I got 6 hours to kill. On the way back home, I stop at Blockbuster Video. You might remember Blockbuster Video.
Oh,
from when you were
yeah,
a kid.
dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I rent 2 scary movies because she's not a big scary movie fan. So I figure I'll watch them when she's not around. She doesn't have to deal with that shit.
You actually need to clarify. I don't like slasher films. Regular horror, I'm fine with.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But these were movies I figured she wouldn't really be too into. So I got 2 movies. And I figured they were thematically related, so I thought it would be pretty good. One was The Ring.
Ooh, yeah.
And the other one was so terrible I can't even remember the title. It was also about a videotape being the MacGuffin in the horse. But it was so terrible. I got halfway through it. I'm like, this sucks, and I quit watching. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there. I put in the DVD for The Ring, right? And the first thing that starts on the DVD is, have you seen The Ring?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So all those weird clips that are on the videotape? Okay?
Yeah.
It starts out, when you put in the DVD, it plays those clips as if you're watching that video. But it's interspersed with what I suspect are deleted scenes from the movie. I don't know. So there's this, and I'm like, this is weird. But those clips from that video, the thumb and the fly and the mirror and the girl combing her, that's creepy shit,
Watch a scary movie and it'll ruin it for you.
And I'm watching this, and it fades to black. And you know how it goes on a DVD? You see the ticker ticking up the numbers, but it's black for like a long time. And I'm sitting here creeped out going, well, shit, I don't want to see anymore if there's going to be like a jump screen or something. So I press the button to make it go to the menu. Press play, start the movie, okay? Now, I'm watching this movie in the evening, so it's about 5:30, 6 o'clock. The sun's starting to go down. It's like twilight. It's not dark, but if you've seen The Ring, there's that whole imagery of the sun going down in the tree, and that's a little bit creepy. And I'm like, and I'm looking out the window, and I look back at the screen. I'm like, okay, this is creepy. And then we see the bit where the woman plays the tape and sees all those scenes, and then the phone rings, and she's like, and you're gonna die in 7 days and whatnot, right? She hangs up the phone, and all of a sudden my phone rings. I'm like, the fuck?
Yeah.
And I pick up my phone, it was my cell phone, which I only left on because, I thought Nanette might have to call. She calls me right at that moment. Hello? Hey, I'm going to be getting off at such and such time. You can come pick me up then. Okay. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I'll see you then. Bye. Hang up. Okay, hit play. We're starting to get to another really tense part in the movie, and I get a knock at the door. Again, I live in an apartment building, so normally, if anyone comes, they ring a buzzer because they can't get into the building unless I buzz them in.
Oh, God.
So there's somebody and so I pause it. I go to the door, and I was going to look through the little keyhole, but I'm freaked out. So I just stay back. I'm like, yeah, can I help you? He goes, hi, this is so-and-so. I'm your neighbor from upstairs. Hey, I was wondering if you have the number for the landlord. I don't, but my wife has it in her phone. I can, reach out to her and get it for you. He goes, yeah, I want to call the landlord because I smell gas and I'm kind of concerned. I'm like, fuck it. The building's going to blow up. I'm like, you know what? I'm done watching this movie. I'm going to go. I'm going to pick up my wife right now. I'll get that number. I'll call you and give it to you, okay? I'm like, shit. I'm like, I'll watch the rest of this movie when my wife is here.
Blow up together.
No, because,
Right.
I got to where she was at. I got the number, called about the gas leak and whatnot. We get back, and I'm like, I told her this story, and she's laughing her ass off at me. Rightly so. I deserved it, And I'm like, I want to see the end of this movie. Can you sit with me? She's like, yeah, I'll watch it with you. Now it's completely dark, but my wife is there. The lights are on. I see the end of the movie. I'm like, I don't know. This one just struck me at the right time, under the right circumstances, with just these, sequence of events that, you couldn't replicate that. If I'd seen it any other day, I'd have been like, yeah, it was a pretty good movie. This, just like you, maybe if I'd have been drinking, it would have been even worse. I don't know, but I had to drive, so I couldn't drink. So there you go. But yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I totally dig. Yeah, that's those are the best horror movies. We'll have to do another stream one night. We'll talk horror movies.
Oh, I love horror movies, man.
And I'll tell you the story about when I first saw Poltergeist.
Okay.
Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That was.
I know my horror movies, man.
You have to remember that movie came out on VHS just when VHS was starting. So I first saw it on VHS at a Halloween party. Back then, you'd have Halloween parties, and this was like grade school, high school, whatnot. And you'd go to the video store, you'd rent a scary movie, and you'd all sit around and watch it. And you really should not have been seeing that movie. I saw some movies at a much younger age that I should not have been seeing. Poltergeist was one. I Spit on Your Grave was another one. I was way too young to see that movie.
Oh? Did you watch the original Exorcist when you were young?
I did. And what's even worse, I grew up Catholic. I went to a Catholic grade school. Yeah. So that adds a dimension to it, man. That one messed me up.
Dude, that's a twisted ass movie, man. Yeah.
Talk about twisted. It wasn't until I saw it again when I was in my 20s that I understood that whole scene with the crucifix.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, I didn't understand that as a kid.
Dude. I watched it when I was like 23, and I was watching my buddy who's horrified at scary movies, and she started doing that. I was like,
"Are they actually doing this?" Yeah, exactly.
I was like, "Holy shit!"
There was things, and let's face it, that was controversial.
Yeah, it's still controversial.
But you couldn't make that. It would be so controversial now. You couldn't do that.
No fucking way. Yeah.
Actually, I don't know. These days, the way things are. The way they're treating kids.
They made cuties. Yeah, they made cuties.
They made cuties, so yeah, they probably, I don't know. Only us fogies would get bent out of shape about that these days, I guess. Anyway, yeah, we could get into politics, but that's a whole different conversation. So anyway, so Saturday, Piranha. Sunday, over on Big Al Present. Big Al Presents is tomorrow night. It's a rewatch. Sunday on Age of Boomer, Geeky Geezers. Gonna be again. It's gonna be very DC heavy because there's been a lot of DC news. A little bit we'll talk about Marvel, and he's got some gaming stuff that I don't understand, but he'll fill us in on all of that. So that's Geeky Geezers on Sunday. Without him here, I don't know what's going on Monday and Wednesday. I'm assuming that Soundtracks with Birdman is doing his Batman show on Monday, and he's got a rewatch on Wednesday. So I would just say subscribe to Soundtrack with Birdman, hit that notification bell, and you'll know what's going on with him. And that brings us around to Friday. So here's the big news, folks. Brandon, you're awesome. I love hanging out with you. But I'm getting to hang out with one of my YouTube heroes.
Nice.
Next week. Michael French from Retroblasting is going to be my guest next week. He is celebrating his 100,000 subscribers. absolutely, without a doubt, the biggest YouTube channel I've had the pleasure to interact with. I'll tell you the whole story about how, this goofy little 500 subscriber channel got the attention of someone as big as he is. But he's so down to earth. He's probably going to be like, dude, And my whole goal going into the stream next week is to not do the Chris Farley show and be like, hey, Michael, you know that video you did about that thing? That was cool. You know what I'm talking about with the Chris Farley show, right?
Yeah.
You Saturday Night Live before it was, stupid and insipid. Okay. Just, But so that'll be next week, Friday. And then, but that's going to be Halloween weekend. So the following day, Saturday, a week from tomorrow, over on Netter's Network, rewatch of the original Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh,
link will be
nice.
provided so you can watch it with us.
Oh, because I've never seen it.
Netter has never seen Nightmare on Elm Street.
Watch that, then don't watch the other Nightmare.
The other Nightmare? Which one?
Just watch the first one and don't watch the rest.
And then don't watch any others.
Yeah.
See, the funny thing is I have them all on DVD. I have every single one of them.
Doesn't
They're
mean
so-
we gotta watch them.
No, it doesn't mean you have to watch them.
Yeah,
That's true.
okay.
I
weird.
everybody knows that because I'm so into physical media, once I start a series, I have to get them all. Okay. Same thing with Halloween. I've got all of the Halloween movies, and I haven't watched the last 3 of them. I haven't watched the remake. I haven't watched the new sequels. I haven't watched any of it, and I haven't had much impetus to do it. But I have them on DVD just in case I ever decide I want to watch them.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if you're a horror fan and you want to be a completist, you try getting all of the Night of the Living Dead movies, Dawn of the Dead movies, Return of the Living Dead, because it's like you need a flow chart to follow these, because there's these different branching films that all come from the same first movie.
No shit.
It's amazing. Well, so you may not even know this. The original Night of the Living Dead for a brief time, fell into what's it called? Public domain. So people were able to do sequels to it when they didn't have any rights, because there were no rights to have. So there was 3 or 4 different. I don't know what that is.
Okay, so you can hear
That
too.
feedback.
Okay.
I don't think that's.
No, it's not really feedback. It's just kind of scratching.
Yeah, I don't know. But we're going to be ending the stream pretty soon, so it doesn't matter too much. Yeah. So look into it. There's actually somebody's got a graphic up that tells you what, like the different branches, that and how some of them are. And then there's remakes, and then there's 3D version of a remake, and it's just crazy. So, and I've got them all. And I've got them all on DVD. It's crazy. Anyway, man, thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Well, thank you for having me, man.
I hope we got you at least a couple more subscribers, because you certainly deserve it. You got a great channel.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to you branching out with your content and whatnot. And do you have any last words for us before we end the stream?
No, just thank you. I guess thank you for having me, man. I like what you're doing here. I think, your community. I see it every day. And I think it's awesome to have the people constantly coming in. You guys, you have things you can relate to, talk about, like what happened last week, and just laugh over it. And I think it's cool.
Yeah. And
the conversation's good.
And I'm just so thankful for, well, let's call it what it is. Younger guys like you that I can share this older stuff with. That and I'm not just doing it like so many others. Oh, you got to see it because I love it. No. I think you would like it. That's the only reason I suggest it to you. But Netter, last words.
Oh, I gotta get up.
You're gonna get up so you can come to the mic.
Yeah, because otherwise I sound tinny.
Yeah.
So without getting on camera, because I'm in my jammies.
We're all in our jammies.
We always say that we can talk amongst ourselves, and that's all well and good and fine, and we have a great time with it. But it's so much more fun, and enjoyable when you guys are dropping comments in the chat and trivia and questions and just really interacting with us that way, because it's more like you're here with us in person, not so much like in the chat. And you're not just friends to us, you're family too. So we love you guys and we're glad you're here.
Exactly what you were saying, Brandon, right? And she's so right. You guys don't realize how much it encourages me when you drop those likes and those comments and come back the next day and get caught up, and it's what keeps me coming back. So anyway, thank you everybody. Thank you, Brandon, for hanging out with us. Stick around. We'll say our goodbyes in the green room, and everyone else, thanks for hanging out with us, and hope to see you on the next one. Take care.
Bye.
Good night, ladies.
Good night, sir.
Hit it, sweetheart.